Chapter 104. The ground was splattered with blood. Severed arms were scattered on the ground, mixed with mud and weeds. The wounded were screaming on the side. This was the first time Tang Zheng had seen such a bloody scene, but he did not feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, his blood began to flow faster, and he felt a restless feeling. Sogu, 360, so. His adrenaline was rapidly secreting, and his mind was highly focused. He swept his gaze around and locked onto his targets, Lin Hu and Boss Fan. At this moment, both of them were holding machetes in their hands, and the blades were stained with blood. Both of them had wounds on their bodies, but Lin Hu's injuries were clearly more serious. He was limping, and although he was doing his best to resist, he was already showing signs of decline. Boss Fan came down from above, and his machete fiercely chopped down. Lin Hu took advantage of the situation to lower his body, and wanted to dodge, but Boss Fan laughed sinisterly. The momentum of his machete suddenly changed, and in a flash, he chopped towards Lin Hu's back. Lin Hu wanted to block with his machete, but it was already too late. Blood splattered everywhere, and Boss Fan's machete cut open a large wound on Lin Hu's back, causing his muscles to bulge. Lin Hu groaned in pain, but he did not sit still and wait for death. He took advantage of the situation to jump, and narrowly avoided the opponent's attack. Looking at this dangerous scene, the little brother beside him couldn't help at all. He could only let out a roar of unwillingness. Not greater than Tang Zheng moved. His feet flashed, and he rushed past one of the men. But when the man saw someone suddenly appear, he did not even think and chopped down with his machete. Tang Zheng did not even look, and casually waved his hand. With a gotcha sound, the man's wrist was broken, and the machete fell to the ground. The other man saw this, and with a wave of his machete, he chopped the man to the ground. These two groups of people had different armbands on their arms to distinguish them. The black armbands were Boss Fan's people, the blue armbands were Lin Hu's people, and the one who wanted to chop Tang Zheng up was Boss Fan's little brother. In front of Tang Zheng, another two lackeys who were fighting each other blocked his path. He locked onto the lackey with the black armband and gave him a flying kick. With a crack, the lackey's shin broke, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground in an instant. Then, he was slashed to the ground again by his opponent, crying like a ghost and howling like a wolf. Tang Zheng had knocked down 7 of Big Head Fan's lackeys in just a dozen meters. Many people had already noticed this Chan Yao Jin who had appeared out of nowhere. Many people wanted to chase after him, but they couldn't. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the center of the battlefield. Lin Hu dodged the saber in a sorry state. His body was wounded again, and blood splattered everywhere. However, Lin Hu was still the boss. He clenched his teeth and did not give up. If he gave up, he would lose. If he lost, it would mean that all his hard work over the past few decades would be for naught. Lin Hu, you're about to die, yet you still don't want to surrender? Hee, you must be counting on that brat Tang Zheng to save you. Let me tell you, young Master Huang has already killed him, so you can stop daydreaming. Boss Fan had a feeling of exultation. After leaving Huang Xiang's villa that night, he was certain that Tang Zheng would die without a doubt. Therefore, he didn't ask for confirmation. Instead, he gathered his lackeys and impatiently sent a letter of challenge to Lin Hu. The two groups of people pulled each other to the outskirts of the city and fought to the death. Whoever left standing would be the victor. This was the law of the underworld. Whoever had the bigger fist would be the boss, and their benefits would be greater. Moreover, this kind of letter of challenge was the most direct and easiest way to gain the approval of others. Ordinary balance wasn't limited to Lin Hu and Boss Fan's group. Others were also eyeing them covetously. Boss Fan was very confident. If he defeated Lin Hu in this way, then he would go to Lin Hu's territory and plant his flag. That would be his territory. This kind of method was called basking in the sun. It was to bask in the sun and then fight to the death. The winner would be the king, and the loser would be the bandit. Boss Fan, don't be arrogant. If you say Brother Tang is dead, then he's dead. Who do you think you are? Huang Xiang wants to kill him? Humph, dream on. Don't you know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at his hands? Lin Hu grinned and retorted while enduring the pain. Boss Fan's heart trembled. He still didn't know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at Tang Zheng's hands. However, these matters of the past were not important. The important thing was that Tang Zheng was dead. Haha, I see that you won't cry until you see the coffin. Then I'll send you to accompany him on the road to the Yellow Springs. Boss Fan stomped on the ground and soared into the air. Using the momentum of his fall, he fiercely chopped down at Lin Hu. Lin Hu hurriedly used his blade to block. Suddenly, he saw Tang Zheng behind Boss Fan. He was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. Boss Fan obviously didn't notice that there was an extra person behind him. Seeing that Lin Hu was about to be chopped down, Lin Hu seemed to be possessed and didn't move an inch. He didn't even try to block. Boss Fan was overjoyed and roared, "Lin Hu, accept your death!" Bang! Before the chopping blade could fall, a strong force came from behind him. He directly flew over Lin Hu's head and fell flat on his face. F***CK, who sneak attacked me? Boss Fan reacted quickly. He pushed his palms against the ground and flipped over. He angrily glared at the attacker. Boss Fan, didn't you say that I was dead? Do you think I'm a human or a ghost? Tang Zheng asked with a murderous look. Boss Fan was so scared that his eyes were wide open. He cried out in alarm, "Why aren't you dead?" It won't be that easy to kill me. Lin Hu was pleasantly surprised. Originally, when he saw Boss Fan's solemn vow and even brought out Huang Xiang, he almost believed that Tang Zheng was dead. But now it was clear that it was all nonsense. With Tang Zheng here, he would definitely win. Brother Tang, you're finally here. Tang Zheng lightly nodded and said, "You rest for a bit. I'll deal with him. He tried to assassinate me before, so I'll settle the score with him now. He has big dog guts. He actually dares to try and assassinate you," Lin Hu angrily said. Boss Fan's eyes spun around, but he couldn't find a way to dissolve the hatred. It was clear that Tang Zheng wouldn't let him go. He gathered his courage and loudly roared, F***CK, Tang Zheng, don't think that I'm afraid of you. You're awesome, right? Today I have dozens of brothers. I'll definitely chop you into pieces. Boss Fan brought over 80 people while Lin Hu only brought over 60. After this fierce battle, Boss Fan still had 34 brothers standing, so he had the confidence to do so. But Lin Hu wasn't someone to be trifled with. He said, "Lin Hu, do you think that my 20 to 30 brothers are just decorations? Brothers, chop them up for me. Chop them up and Boss Fan's territory will be ours." Lin Hu's little brothers all responded loudly. Since their boss was so passionate, they naturally wouldn't hold him back. Tang Zheng looked at Boss Fan with ridicule and said, "Is this what you meant by chop me into pieces?" "I don't think so." Boss Fan subconsciously took a step back and said, "Tang Zheng, don't be complacent. Young Master Huang is nearby. Young Master Huang has already mastered his godly technique. If you dare to act rashly, then you're dead. Then call him out. If you can't call him out, then I can only deal with you." Tang Zheng coldly laughed. Boss Fan panicked. Huang Xiang wasn't even here. He was just deliberately mystifying things. But he still braced himself and said, "Is young Master Huang someone you can see just because you want to? If you obediently surrender, then young Master Huang may let you live." "Haha, you only know how to blabber. As a boss, you're too weak." Tang Zheng stretched out his hand and directly attacked. After 2 days of recuperation, he unceasingly circulated his energy to heal his injuries. His broken ribs were almost completely healed, so it didn't affect his fighting ability. This time, he didn't use Transcendent Flying Immortal. Firstly, dealing with Boss Fan didn't require such exquisite martial arts. Secondly, last time he used it in front of Qin Lao. It attracted the attention of the other party, who even left ordinary balance overnight. This gave him a new understanding of Transcendent Flying Immortal. This sword technique was too powerful. If it fell into the eyes of others, it might not be a good thing. So he temporarily used the Heaven Gathering Hand. In any case, he was very familiar with the Heaven Gathering Hand. When he used it, the sky was filled with hand shadows. In the blink of an eye, he attacked in front of Boss Fan. Boss Fan raised his blade and chopped down. His blade technique wasn't bad. It was very methodical. Moreover, it was powerful and heavy. Its power was definitely not small. Tang Zheng didn't dodge. He raised one hand and blocked the other's wrist, making it impossible for the blade to come down. His other hand quickly slapped towards Boss Fan's chest. Boss Fan was shocked and hurriedly retreated. He slashed his blade in front of his chest, wanting to block Tang Zheng's hand. However, with a flash of his hand, Tang Zheng's hand went past his blade and slapped his chest with both palms. Puh! Boss Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest instantly caved in. He attacked with his back in an attempt to dissipate some of the force. However, Tang Zheng's attack was too powerful. Even if he managed to dissipate some of the force, it still wasn't easy. Tang Zheng easily dodged the blood. With a single step, he was beside Boss Fan. Boss Fan slashed his blade to the side, but found that the blade hit empty air. Tang Zheng's palm had silently struck below his ribs. Pang! This strike was very heavy. Boss Fan was directly sent flying and fiercely fell to the ground. Even his blade was knocked out of his hand. Tang Zheng was like a shadow as he stood beside Boss Fan and coldly said, "Now you know the consequences of offending me." Boss Fan was scared to death. He never thought that Tang Zheng's martial arts would have reached such a high level. He was like a completely different person compared to when they were in the arena. If he were to let those boxers exchange blows with him, they wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves. "Tang Zheng, please let me go. I will never be your enemy again." Boss Fan was scared. He hurriedly begged for mercy. As long as there was life, there was hope. In order to save his life, he had to admit defeat. Boss Fan wasn't a tough bone to begin with. If he was, then he wouldn't be so close to Huang Xiang. "Let you go? Have you ever thought of letting me go?" Tang Zheng retorted. Boss Fan was at a loss for words. He had already gone to the hospital to assassinate Tang Zheng. How could he ever think of letting him go? "I was blinded by lard. I'm not a person, I'm a bastard. I won't dare to do it again." Boss Fan slapped himself in the face, causing half of his face to immediately swell up. "Tang Zheng. No, young Master Tang, let me go. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll be your dog." An untrained dog will bite its owner. Tang Zheng bent down and picked up the blade. He raised his hand and swung it down. Chapter 105. Blood splattered everywhere, and an ear-piercing scream instantly spread throughout the small forest. Everyone subconsciously stopped their attacks and focused their attention on the scene. Sogu, 360. Lin, whose mouth twitched as his mind trembled. Tang Zheng's ruthlessness had shocked him. It made him think of many things and made him make up his mind. If it was said that he had previously placed himself on the same level as Tang Zheng, then after this battle, he had completely lowered himself and was filled with admiration and reverence. This high school student that he had almost made a feud with was not someone he could fight against. His blood began to boil as he was filled with anticipation. He had such achievements at such a young age. Just how far could he go in the future? However, when he saw Boss Fan wailing on the ground, he did not have a trace of pity. Sooner or later, he would have to pay for what he did. If you were not strong enough, then you would be killed by others. He walked over and saw that Boss Fan's wrists and ankles were dripping with blood. The tendons in his hands and ankles had been cut. Lin, whose heart was moved. When Tang Zheng raised his knife, he thought that Tang Zheng wanted to kill Boss Fan. If Tang Zheng had really killed someone, then Lin who would have risked his life to settle this matter. However, he did not kill anyone. This Tang Zheng was a meticulous person. If he killed someone in front of so many people, then it would not have a good effect. Moreover, he would have put himself in danger. This was an extremely disadvantageous matter. However, Tang Zheng only cut Boss Fan's tendons and directly crippled him. This was in accordance with the rules of the underworld and also completely eliminated this threat. It was indeed the most suitable method. "Clean this up." Tang Zheng threw away the knife and calmly said. There was no longer any trace of his ruthless killing intent. However, the scene from before had been deeply imprinted in everyone's minds. Yes, Boss Fan has been arrogant for half his life. From now on, he will beg for a living. Lin, whose attitude became even more respectful. He called out to two of his subordinates and carried Boss Fan away. Big Head Fan only cared about howling in pain. He didn't even dare to look at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng looked around and swept his gaze over everyone. Everyone who met his gaze subconsciously lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. Tang Zheng's eyes were actually very calm, just like an ordinary high school student's. However, those who were looked at by him felt a burning sensation. A sense of pressure spontaneously rose from the bottom of their hearts. This was what it meant to be imposing. Imperceptibly, Tang Zhang had developed this kind of aura over time. Once it erupted, it was like the sun, making others unable to look at it directly. When Big Head Fan's underlings saw that their boss had been crippled, they all dropped their weapons and didn't dare to fight anymore. Without a doubt, Tang Zhang had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle. This was not a battle on the battlefield. This kind of street fight had a strong sense of heroism. Often, a suppressive expert could decide the outcome of a battle. Tang Zhang was very satisfied. He felt refreshed and said, "Brother Hu, I'm leaving. Young Master Tang, please wait a moment. We have won this battle. I will first send my underlings to Big Head Fan's territory to plant the flag. Can I invite you to my place to sit for a while?" Lin Hu respectfully invited. Moreover, he changed the way he addressed Tang Zhang. He no longer called him Brother Tang, but Young Master Tang. Tang Zhang nodded in agreement. "Young Master Tang, please don't call me Brother Hu in the future. It's too much for me. Just call me Huzi." Lin Hu took the initiative to show weakness. Tang Zhang hesitated for a moment. However, he understood the other's intentions and agreed. Lin Hu quickly arranged for his underlings to plant the flag and clean up the mess. Meanwhile, he and Tang Zhang sat in a car in the distance. Under everyone's gazes, they gradually drove away. Huazi drove. From time to time, he would look at his boss and Tang Zhang from the rearview mirror. When he had just arrived, he saw Tang Zhang's hand swing down and directly end the battle. One could imagine the shock in his heart. Thinking back to the time when he dared to be disrespectful to Tang Dehai, he simply ate a leopard's guts. He couldn't help but admire his boss's eyesight. "Young Master Tang boss, we're here." Huazi stopped the car in front of Shangshi Bar and respectfully reported. Lin Hu was the first to get off the car. Then, he went around to Tang Zhang's side and took the initiative to open the car door. He slightly bowed. "Young Master Tang, please." Tang Zhang got off the car. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all. When other people faced this kind of situation, they would feel a little uneasy. However, Tang Zhang's calmness seemed to be innate. In the past it was just hidden. Now it gradually broke out. Shangshi Bar. It was still the office on the second floor. This time, the one sitting at the head of the table was not Lin Hu but Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang glanced around. He still remembered that this was the office where he first met Lin Hu. Moreover, they had a big fight. With the passage of time, the conflict between the two has been completely resolved. Instead, it has become a closer relationship. "Young Master Tang, this time it was all thanks to your righteous help. Otherwise I would have fallen. I, Lin Hu, will remember this kindness in my heart." Lin Hu's face was solemn as he said in a deep voice. Tang Zhang waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. Moreover, with our relationship, I can't just stand by and watch you die." Lin Hu's heart was happy. It seems that his position in the other's heart was not bad. So he struck while the iron was hot. "Young Master Tang, I have a presumptuous request." "Speak." "You've also seen my property, so I want to transfer it to you." Lin Hu calmly said, without a trace of reluctance. Even Dong Zi, who was standing at the side, couldn't help but feel his eyelids jump. He was incomparably surprised. Tang Zhang looked at Lin Hu with astonishment. Although he did not know how many businesses Lin Hu had, he was certain that it was worth tens of millions. But he actually wanted to transfer it to Tang Zhang. This courage made Tang Zhang have a whole new level of respect for him. In this world, there were many people who were greedy for power and wealth. Those who dared to hand over their benefits to others were few and far between. However, Tang Zhang did not show too much of a reaction. He lightly said, "I don't have the money to accept your business. No, I'm giving it to young Master Tang. I don't need a single cent," Lin Hu resolutely said as if he did not feel any heartache. Tang Zhang deeply looked at Lin Hu as if he wanted to re-examine him. "Why? Today, my life was saved by young Master Tang. If you didn't act, I would have lost without a doubt. This business would also have been snatched away by Boss Fan." And Lin Hu slightly hesitated and said, "My ability is not enough to support such a large business. Only you, young Master Tang, have this ability. Be a bit more specific." Tang Zhang was a bit interested. "In ordinary balance, other than me and Boss Fan, There are two other bosses. One is Hoodlum and the other is Fire Phoenix. These two are not ordinary people. Especially Hoodlum. In the past, he was Boss Huang's head horse. Later on, he came out to do things on his own. In reality, he was acting on behalf of Boss Huang. This person is very good at fighting. Tang Zheng nodded. He did not think that ordinary balance would have such a complicated relationship. Who is Boss Huang? Actually, young Master Tang and Boss Huang have already formed a grudge. He is Huang Xiang's father. His name is Huang Biao and his nickname is Huang Si. He is an unfathomable expert. Don't look at how ordinary balance has so many forces. If he stood up and shouted, everyone would have no choice but to listen to him. Tang Zheng shivered. It seems that he and the Huang family were fated to be involved. However, he did not have a good impression of the Huang family. According to Boss Fan, Huang Xiang had tried to assassinate him before. Although he did not know why the other party did not succeed, it was not important. What was important was that both sides were in a life-and-death situation. The King of Medicine did not mention the battle that night. In the King of Medicine's mind, finding out the condition of Tang Zheng's body was the most important thing. Everything else was just a small episode not worth mentioning. Oh, so you will also listen to him? Tang Zheng asked with interest. Lin Hu firmly shook his head. From today onwards, I will only listen to young Master Tang. Tang Zheng thoughtfully nodded his head. No matter what Lin Hu's final plan was, at least his attitude was sincere. Moreover, he originally wanted to deal with Huang Xiang, and this would also trigger Huang Si's nerves. Thus, agreeing to Lin Hu's request was not impossible. Moreover, Lin Hu was not a burden and could be a great help to him. Huang Si was a deeply rooted local snake. If he wanted to overthrow him, it would not be as simple as killing his way to his door. In addition, his cultivation was definitely not as good as Huang Si's. Rashly killing his way to his door would be like throwing an egg at a rock. Tell me about this Hoodlum. Tang Zheng thoughtfully said. Hoodlum represents the interests of the Huang family and controls the most prosperous area in ordinary Balance City. Moreover, this person is vicious and merciless. He dares to fight and fight. Back when he was Huang Si's horse, he was already famous for his bravery and loyalty to Huang Si. Otherwise, he would not have been chosen by Huang Si to be his spokesperson. Hoodlum has some business acumen and the businesses under him are doing very well. He also has guts and dares to touch prostitution, gambling and drugs. With Huang Si's protection, these few years he has been developing rapidly. If not for the fact that the northern part of the city is an old district and there is not much profit to be made, I'm afraid he would have already made a move on me. This Hoodlum was not simple. However, to dare touch prostitution, gambling and drugs, he really had guts. This was especially true for drugs. This was the country's most severe crackdown on drugs and of course it was also the most profitable. Tang Zheng did not know much about the underworld. Since he would not be able to avoid it in the future, he might as well understand it. He then asked, then what is the situation of your businesses? I don't have many businesses. I only have baths and bars. However, I don't have as many resources as Hoodlum. Therefore, I only sell a bit of alcohol and raise a few girls. I also collect protection fees to earn money. I can't compare to Hoodlum. How come you don't touch drugs and gambling? Lin Hu's face revealed a trace of sadness as he resolutely said, I hate drugs. Back then, my wife died from drug addiction. Back then, I was doing pretty well. Although I wasn't the boss, I still had a bit of money so I got married. After marriage I was very happy. However, later on, my wife became addicted to drugs. She refused to change and in the end, she died from drug addiction. Lin Hu gnashed his teeth as he said this. It seems that although this matter had passed for a long time, the scar in his heart was still very painful. Because of this, when I became the boss, I did not allow drugs to enter my businesses. Because of this, there were many fights. In the end, when others saw that I had made up my mind, no one dared to come to my businesses to sell drugs. It is also because of this that my businesses and profits can't compare to others. Chapter 106. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and comforted him. You made the right decision. As a man, there are things you can do and things you can't do. Drugs are things you can't touch. Fairy search, download novels for free. Drugs not only harm a person, but also the family of a drug addict will fall into a bottomless abyss. Moreover, this country was bullied because of the Opium War. As a young man with correct values, he naturally hated drugs. Lin, who nodded, took a deep breath, and tried to calm his mind as much as possible and said, "If there is something, then there is something to be gained. It is also because of this reason that my place is rarely checked by the police, which saves me a lot of trouble." What about the casino? Tang Zheng still remembered the casino in the ordinary balance villa. Of course, he was also very clear about how terrifying the casino's ability to make money was. The casino needs a lot of money to back it up. My strength is not enough, so I can't play it. But in my territory, there are some small casinos. My little brothers also go to the casinos to collect protection fees, but they don't participate in the operation. Tang Zheng had a general understanding of Lin Hu's strength and said, "What's the situation with that fire phoenix? This woman is not simple. She is in her 30s. When she was in her teens, she came out as a delinquent girl. She dared to fight and later married her own boss. But this boss did not live long and was hacked to death. Fire Phoenix took over his position. Originally, I thought that she would not be able to protect me. The others were all eyeing her territory covetously, but in the end, she miraculously survived. These years, she has also stabilized. Her strength is even a bit stronger than mine. Oh, why do I feel that among these bosses, you are the most miserable?" Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Lin, who wasn't embarrassed at all and directly nodded his head in acknowledgement. That is indeed the case. The northern part of the city is an old part of the city, so there is very little profit to be had. Moreover, I have put so many shackles on myself, so this little brother really hasn't enjoyed much with me. Boss, we are all willing to follow you. It is not just for the money. Dong Zi stood up and said with righteous indignation. Lin, who smiled and gestured for Dong Zi to sit down, saying, "I understand your thoughts, so I am very grateful to you. Now you understand why I was interested in the profits from the junkyard." Tang Zheng expressed his understanding and said, "Since we have already formed a grudge with Huang Si, then we have to weaken his strength as much as possible. This time you also snatched away Boss Fan's territory, so your strength has increased greatly. This will also attract their attention, so our current target is Hoodlum. He is Huang Si's hand, so we have to cut off his hand." Lin, who excitedly nodded his head. "That's also what I was thinking. If we were to directly face Huang Si, our chances of victory would not be high. But Hoodlum is not like Boss Fan. This person has a brain and his strength is not bad. He is far from being as easy to deal with as Boss Fan. Moreover, I just fought with Boss Fan, so it will definitely attract the attention of the police, so I have to stay low for a while. Then let's stop on the surface and make preparations in secret to avoid being caught off guard when the time comes. Also, what is the relationship between Fire Phoenix and Huang Si? Fire Phoenix obviously respects Huang Si on the surface, but a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. What exactly is she thinking in her heart? No one knows. Could it be that young Master Tang wants to ally with Fire Phoenix to deal with Hoodlum? This will not be easy. Fire Phoenix is more cautious and will not easily make a move. Who hacked her husband to death? This I do not know. Her husband was also a fierce person. That year before Huang Si retreated to the background, he often went against Huang Si. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. Then could his death have been caused by Huang Si? This is hard to say. There is no evidence. Hey, so what if there is no evidence? The key is to believe in this point. I believe that Fire Phoenix also has a scale in her heart. It is just that she is not Huang Si's opponent, so she does not dare to show it. You go and get in touch with Fire Phoenix and probe her thoughts. If we can ally with her, then our chances of victory will be much higher. Tang Zheng arranged. Lin Hu agreed. Now that his territory was larger than Fire Phoenix's, Fire Phoenix would feel a sense of danger. Perhaps there really was a possibility of them working together. Okay, we will stop here for today. If you have any news, then let me know. Properly manage your territory. Tang Zheng stood up and prepared to leave. Young Master Tang, this is your territory. Lin Hu corrected him. Tang Zheng gave an enigmatic smile and said, "There is no need to give it to me. This place was taken down by your blade and gun. Moreover, I am a student and not someone from the underworld. I will not take your territory. However, our goals are the same. If you need any help, I will lend you a hand. Tang Zhang was a cultivator and his vision was not small. How could he possibly care about the ordinary balance underworld's benefits? His top priority was to raise his cultivation level, and he could not possibly place his focus on the underworld's fighting and killing. In addition, if his grandfather knew that he was deeply involved with the underworld, he would also be worried. Lin Hu watched as Tang Zhang disappeared through the door and did not come back to his senses. This was an opportunity to hand over to him, but he was unexpectedly not moved. Lin Hu really could not see through Tang Zhang. Boss, how could he refuse? Then are we still going to listen to him? Dong Zi asked in disbelief. Lin Hu firmly said, of course we will listen to him. Although he does not want it, I will still help him guard this property. He is equivalent to our boss behind the scenes. At any time, as long as he gives the order, I will hand it over to him. Lin Hu knew that Tang Zheng's vision was no longer limited to this city. Although he did not know the other specific thoughts, following him may allow him to see scenery that he did not even dare to imagine before. When Tang Zhang returned home, the sky had already darkened. From afar, he could see two slender figures standing in front of the door. Compared to the small house, they formed a completely different scenery. Passers-by all turned to look at them. These two people were truly too beautiful, like two pearls. Quickly walking over, the two people had already come to greet him. Feng Shishir was like a dancing butterfly as she flew towards Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang held her in his arms, feeling the breathtaking softness. He patted her back and asked, why did you two come? I came to see you. Why did you run out? You should be at home recuperating. Feng Shishir said with concern. I am already fine, so I went out for a walk to get some fresh air. Tang Zhang moved his muscles to show off. Injured muscles and bones take 100 days to recover. This is a big matter and cannot be taken lightly. But if your body is better, you won't have to miss this week's monthly exam. Monthly exam? Tang Zhang was shocked. He immediately remembered that Lu Qingmei wanted him to get first place in the monthly exam. This was not in line with his original plan. He was originally prepared to compromise, but this time he had a way to muddle through. Using his injury as an excuse to not go to class for a few days, he could muddle through. Sure. Tell teacher Lu tomorrow that I am still recuperating and will not be able to participate in the monthly exam. No problem. Wait until the high school exam to show your strength. At that time, you will definitely amaze everyone and surprise everyone. Feng Shishir agreed. Hey, can the two of you not be so lovey-dovey? Yi Dingdang finally couldn't help but speak up. She was specifically asked by Feng Xinyang to come find Tang Zheng. She didn't expect that after many twists and turns, she would find Feng Shishir standing in front of his door. Yi Dingdang didn't leave. If she left, wouldn't that mean that she was afraid of Feng Shishir? So she simply waited at the door. The two were like door gods, occasionally looking at each other but not speaking. Do you need something from me? Tang Zhang let go of Feng Shishir. Feng Shishir still held his hand and walked towards Yi Dingdang. Of course there's something. Yi Dingdang hatefully stared at the two's tightly held hands and said with a complicated expression. What is it? Let's talk alone. Then I'll go in first. Feng Shishir obediently opened the door and entered the room. Yi Dingdang looked at him and said, First, I want to thank you for giving me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra. It is very suitable for me. Moreover, this cultivation technique is very precious. I don't know how to thank you. I already said that I don't need your thanks. I just wanted to help. Tang Zheng shrugged and generously said. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a bright light. Tang Zheng at this moment was very charming. Anyone who easily gave a priceless treasure to another without asking for anything in return would have a charm that would make others submit. Yi Dingdang collected her thoughts and continued to say, I already know about the life-continuing pill. Tang Zheng didn't find it strange and nodded, indicating for her to continue. I didn't think that you wouldn't agree to save him. You also saw how he treated me. Do you think I need to save him? Tang Zheng asked back. Yi Dingdang squeezed out a smile and said, You really are bold. When I heard Feng Xinyang talk about this matter, I also felt that it was inconceivable. But I really admire your style. You flatter me. I don't have any big principles, but I still have some small principles. Do you know that the old man is very angry? In these past years, no one has ever dared to treat him like this. People always have to experience their first time. Seeing his serious appearance, Yi Dingdang couldn't help but laugh. I really admire you. You didn't come today just to express your admiration, right? Tang Zheng calmly asked. Don't you know that you are already in danger? Yi Dingdang decided not to talk about her own matters and prepared to test Tang Zheng's reaction. I have never been safe. But I still have a bit of ability to protect myself, so I won't die for now. But this time is different from before. The old man is a 9th grade natal stage cultivator. This is already very frightening. You are not his opponent. Tang Zheng faintly smiled and said, It seems like he really wants to kill and steal. All right, then I will wait for him. Are you stupid or are you really not afraid of death? Yi Dingdang rolled her eyes at him. Everyone is afraid of death, so how can I not be afraid of death? But since he wants to kill, I can't just sit and wait for death. Hey, you really are daring. But since you gave me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra, I will give you a clear path to resolve this crisis. Oh, so kind. Of course I am kind. I have always been kind. Don't you know? Yi Dingdang somewhat playfully said. Then I am all ears. Chapter 107. Tang Zheng originally thought that Yi Dingdang would have some kind of brilliant plan, but after hearing her words, his expression became strange and he couldn't help but interrupt her. Is your plan for yourself or for me? Yi Dingdang raised her head, revealing her snow-white neck. Her body under the school uniform was especially tall, making Tang Zheng involuntarily think of the time when they shared the same bed. Sogu, 360, Soso search JDXS to download novels for free. Yi Dingdang clearly didn't notice Tang Zheng's bad intentions and righteously said, Of course I'm doing this for you, how could it be for myself? Saying this her eyes flashed, but she felt a bit guilty and silently cursed. Feng Xinyang, all of this was your plan, but you want me to carry it out. Shouldn't you be the one saying it as the mother, humph? Tang Zheng shook his head and retorted, I don't think so, you're clearly the one benefiting more. How could that be? You won't be in any danger like this, and I'm just taking a little bit of benefit. Yi Dingdang used her fingernails to point out, as if she wanted to remind herself that the benefits were insignificant. You're just taking things from your left pocket to your right pocket. It's your Ye family that's taking advantage. Tang Zheng disagreed. Yi Dingdang's expression changed and said in a deep voice, Don't speak nonsense, I'm greater than over equal to, surnamed Yi. I'm from the ordinary Balance Ye family, not the Beijing Ye family. Seeing her firm expression, he could understand her feelings. His expression also became serious as he said, You want me to give the life-continuing pill to Yi Xuanji so that he can cancel your marriage with Song Yu. No matter how you look at it, I feel like you have more benefits. This was Feng Xinyang's plan. Not only could it save Tang Zheng's life, but it could also resolve Yi Dingdang's crisis, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This way you won't be in any danger. Isn't that great? Yi Dingdang guiltily lowered her head. Just agree, this is good for both of us. Moreover, do you have the heart to see me marry Song Yu? Why wouldn't I have the heart? Song Yu is elegant, rich, and powerful. He's the prince that many girls dream of. Tang Zheng didn't take the bait. In any case, he is not my type. Moreover, I have already announced to the outside world that you are my fiancé, so you should be responsible for me, your fiancé, to the end. Yi Dingdang hardened her heart and loudly said, Sure, lower your voice, I said this to help you, but everyone knows it's fake. Tang Zheng looked into the room, not knowing if Feng Sheshe heard. Anyways, the whole school already knows that you're my fiancé. If you don't agree, I'll continue to say this and make you a heartless man that everyone despises. Chen Shimmy. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness as she resolutely said. Originally, Feng Xinyang wanted her to act gentle, but Yi Dingdang clearly didn't follow the script and returned to her original nature, directly threatening him. Tang Zheng was speechless. Why was this Yi Dingdang pestering him endlessly? Of course he was not afraid of being scolded behind his back, as it was just a false rumor, but he was worried that Feng Sheshe would be troubled. To be honest, he really didn't want to bother with Yi Xuanji, since his life and death had nothing to do with him. Brat, don't you want a 300-year-old ginseng to refine a spirit-gathering pill? Yi Xuanji definitely has a way to get it, So add this condition to it. This girl is right. You're not Yi Xuanji's opponent right now, so there's no need to make such a strong enemy. Moreover, you can deepen your relationship with this girl, which will be more beneficial for you to take her down in the future. You can't just give this girl to Song Yu. Tian Chanzi once again joined in. Ginseng. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. That's right. I have no way to find this ingredient, but Yi Xuanji definitely has a way. Your top priority is to refine a spirit-gathering pill to increase your cultivation. Something like the life-continuing pill. Other people treat it as a priceless treasure, but it doesn't have much use for you. Why don't you use it to exchange for something useful to you? Moreover, if others know that you don't have it, they won't have any ideas about you. This is killing two birds with one stone. Tian Chanzi analyzed. He had to admit that sometimes Tang Zheng's perspective was still lacking, and the experienced and astute Tian Chanzi just happened to make up for this. Seeing Tang Zheng hesitate, Yi Dingdang was also very nervous. If Tang Zheng didn't agree, then she would be in trouble, so she anxiously asked, "Do you agree or not?" "Okay, I agree, but I have a condition." "What condition?" Yi Dingdang was overjoyed, but her heart became nervous. He wouldn't ask for something excessive, right? If he did, what would I do? "I need a 300-year-old ginseng. Tell him to prepare it." 300-year-old ginseng. Yi Dingdang breathed a sigh of relief, but she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. "What do you need that for?" "You don't have to worry about that. Just go back and tell him to decide for himself." "Okay, I'll keep it in mind." "You can't go back on your words." Yi Dingdang believed that the old man would agree after all. This was related to his life, but she was most afraid that Tang Zheng would go back on his words. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back. Tang Zheng's answer was resolute and decisive. Yi Dingdang curled her lips and criticized in her heart. He didn't know how to be modest at all, and still called himself a gentleman. "If there's nothing else, I'll go in." "What, can't wait to see your lover?" Yi Dingdang teased, but there was a hint of jealousy in her voice. "Yes, so forgive me for not seeing you out." Tang Zheng went in, leaving Yi Dingdang stomping her feet and muttering, "Humph, I don't want to stand here." "Are you done?" Feng Sheshe saw him come in and quickly went to welcome him. "I want to cook for you. How do I do this?" She awkwardly and anxiously pointed at the rice cooker. "Sorry, I've never cooked before, so I don't know how to do it." "Am I stupid?" Feng Sheshe lowered her head in embarrassment. Tang Zheng's head warmed as he said, "You're so smart, how can you be stupid? It's just that you haven't come into contact with it before." This kind of rich young miss was willing to cook for him. If he said that he wasn't moved, then he would be lying. "Then I'll start learning from today. I believe that I can also make delicious food." Feng Sheshe smiled, revealing two shallow dimples. "Okay, I'll teach you. Now don't move and watch me do it." Tang Zheng rolled up his sleeves and moved quickly. He washed the rice, washed the pot, and then used the rice cooker to cook the rice. Then he began to wash and cut the vegetables. There was a series of ding-ding-ding sounds. The crisp sound of the kitchen knife cutting on the chopping board was like a piece of music, very rhythmic and charming. "Let me try." Feng Sheshe was eager to try. "Be careful. This knife is very sharp." Feng Sheshe held the knife and cut the vegetables like he did, but she didn't have the ease he had. The ingredients she cut were all big and small. "It's always like this for the first time. Just do it more often," Tang Zheng encouraged. Feng Sheshe nodded and gritted her teeth. Suddenly, the kitchen knife slipped and she cried out in pain. Her finger was cut and blood flowed out. She immediately frowned in pain. Tang Zheng hurriedly grabbed her hand and looked at it. Her finger had been cut open. He put her finger into his mouth with heartache, wanting to suck the blood away. This was a subconscious action because he used to do this. But Feng Sheshe was stunned to see her finger in Tang Zheng's mouth. She immediately blushed, but she didn't stop him. Her heart was warm. "Put a band-aid on it. Does it still hurt?" Tang Zheng asked softly. Feng Sheshe gently shook her head, looked at him with shining eyes and whispered, "It doesn't hurt." "It doesn't hurt? You were screaming just now." "It hurt just now, but it doesn't hurt now." Feng Sheshe showed a charming smile. "How can it be so fast, silly girl?" Tang Zheng put on the band-aid. Seeing that she was still looking at him, he touched his face and asked, "Is there a flower on my face?" Feng Shishir didn't answer him, but expressed her feelings with practical actions. She hugged his neck, raised her head and kissed his lips. Since the beauty took the initiative to throw herself into his arms, Tang Zheng naturally would not reject her. He tightly embraced her slender waist and passionately kissed her. The two people's rapid breathing caused the temperature in the room to rise. Tang Zheng's hands began to move. His hands went all the way down her back and wrapped around her perky buttocks. Although Feng Shishir's body was still raw, it showed a little maturity. That amazing elasticity was particularly attractive. Tang Zheng lovingly hugged her as the two tightly stuck together. Feng Shishir seemed as if she was about to melt as she softly fell into his embrace. "Go inside," Feng Shishir said, almost moaning. Tang Zheng directly carried her up and walked to his room. Feng Shishir's hands hooked around his neck and looked at him lovingly. Tang Zheng gently placed her on the bed and leaned over to kiss her, entangling them together. His hands were not idle. Little by little, they moved up from her legs to her buttocks and slowly reached her chest. Through her clothes, he could still feel the warm and soft fullness. Feng Shishir's body stiffened and trembled with excitement. But she didn't stop Tang Zheng's attack. She let his hands hold her peaks through her clothes. Feng Shishir's breathing became more rapid. Her eyes were like autumn water and her face was like peach blossoms. She was faintly anticipating and also a little afraid. But she still gathered her courage and gave him an encouraging look. Tang Zheng's hands moved more vigorously. Even through her clothes, Feng Shishir felt her body heat up. It was as if she was going to burn up. She couldn't help but moan. Her hands also hugged Tang Zheng's body and stroked it. Tang Zheng was even more excited. He felt that his blood was boiling. He was no longer satisfied with this little achievement. He began to conquer her. Unknowingly, his hands had already moved under her clothes. Her skin was white and delicate, like mutton fat jade. When his fingers touched it, her body trembled slightly. His big hands quickly moved up and touched her underwear. Then he quickly moved in. The underwear wrapped his hands tightly, but it made the contact between his hands and her skin even more intimate. Tang Zheng's hands were stuffed. They were soft and delicate, making his heart burn more and more. Even his eyes were about to spit fire. Chapter 108. Both parties had already read the latest chapter. Feng Shishir's clothes had already been pushed up, exposing her two snow-white breasts to the air. There was even a little bit of Tang Zheng's saliva on them. Obviously, he had already tasted this beautiful delicacy. Feng Shishir's pink face was like a peach blossom, showing a kind of soul-stirring beauty. Both parties were ready to take the next step when a soft sound came from outside the door. It was the sound of the rice cooker, indicating that the rice was ready. Feng Shishir was already in a state of delirium and did not notice this soft sound. However, Tang Zheng's ears were sharp and this sound still interrupted his mood, causing him to be shocked. They were at home and the sky was about to turn dark. Grandpa would be back soon from work. If they were to see this scene, Tang Zheng's thick skin would not matter, but Feng Shishir's thin skin would definitely be too embarrassed to show her face. He stopped abruptly, but Feng Shishir was still immersed in it. She was still leaning on him, her chest pressed against Tang Zheng's body, rubbing and changing shape, almost igniting the fire in Tang Zheng's head. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's self-control was not bad. He whispered in her ear, "Grandfather might be back soon." Feng Shishir's movements suddenly stopped. After pausing for a few seconds, she hurriedly tidied up her clothes and complained, "Why didn't you say so earlier? If Grandpa were to see it, it would be so embarrassing." Tang Zheng looked at her flustered appearance and laughed for no reason. "You can't blame me for this. You also have a part to play." "Humph, it's all your fault. It's all your fault." Feng Shishir stared at him coquettishly. She was so flirtatious that Tang Zheng almost lost control again. "Help me take a look. Is there anything wrong with my clothes? Is it messy?" "Don't worry, there's no problem. It's very neat. You can't tell what we did just now." Feng Shishir immediately punched him and said, "Why do I feel like you've become bad? I used to think that you were very honest." "Haha, it's too late to realize it now. We've already boarded the pirate ship and can't get off," Tang Zheng said with a proud smile. Feng Shishir also smiled. brimming with happiness and sweetness. Little Zhang, is there a guest at home? Tang Dahai's voice sounded from outside the door. Yes, Grandpa, Shusher is here. She's having dinner with us today. Tang Zhang and Feng Shusher walked out of the bedroom and saw their grandfather entering the house. He was carrying a snakeskin bag in his left hand and an iron hook in his right. He was wearing a straw hat on his head. Grandpa, you're back. Take a rest first. The rice is ready. We can eat after we stir-fry the vegetables. Feng Shusher hurriedly went up and took the snakeskin bag. Tang Dahai hurriedly moved away and said, Little girl, this thing is dirty. I'll do it. You sit first, you sit. Feng Shusher did not mind as she took the snakeskin bag and said, Grandpa, you've been tired all day. You sit down and rest first. Tang Dahai was at a loss of what to do. He was used to seeing people avoid him like the plague, so Feng Shusher's casual behavior made him feel at a loss. This will dirty your clothes. Tang Dahai said. It's okay. If the clothes are dirty, just wash them. Feng Shusher carried the snakeskin bag to the corner and put it down. She then diligently poured water and handed it over. He was overwhelmed by her favor and stood there blankly. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile. No matter how his relationship with Feng Shusher was, Feng Shusher's attitude made him feel gratified. Shusher, you sit for a while. I'll stir-fry. I'll watch and learn. The two of them, one stir-frying, the other watching, occasionally made eye contact with each other, revealing deep affection. Looking at this pair, Tang Dahai sighed in his heart. They really are a match made in heaven. This little girl is also sensible. It's just that our family is too poor. This meal was eaten with relish and the atmosphere was very good. After the meal, Feng Shusher took the initiative to wash the dishes. She then pulled Tang Dahai to chat for a while before getting up to say goodbye. Little Zhang, you go send her off. Grandpa, then I'll go back first. I'll come see you next time. Under the dim light, the two held hands. Feng Shusher leaned on Tang Zheng's shoulder, her mouth curved into a crescent moon as she smiled and said, Are you satisfied with my performance in front of Grandpa today? Of course I'm satisfied. You did very well. I haven't seen Grandpa this happy in a long time. Tang Zheng said sincerely. It's good that you're satisfied. Grandpa is the person closest to you, so of course I have to be good to him. Tang Zheng's heart warmed as he held her hand tighter. Feeling the change in his mood, Feng Shusher directly hugged his arm and pressed her chest against it, causing Tang Zheng's mind to wander. Tang Zheng, my dad wants to invite you to dinner tomorrow night. Going to your house again? Not my house, they want to eat outside. They want to thank you for saving me. Tang Zheng still remembered the last feast at Hongmen, so he really didn't have the heart to deal with them. But when he saw Feng Shusher's hopeful gaze, he couldn't bear to refuse and agreed. I knew you were the best to me. Even though they have their faults, they are still my parents. Feng Shusher also knew what he was thinking, so she advised. Tang Zheng smiled and said, This is nothing. I'm not even afraid of a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. Why would I be afraid of a meal? I knew you were the best to me. Then I'll go back first. Today we didn't finish our business. Let's continue next time. Tang Zheng's heart was burning as he couldn't help but say, Humph, rogue. Feng Shusher glanced at him flirtatiously before getting into a taxi and leaving. Brat, you used a sealing technique on me again. You're pissing me off. Tian Chanzi's voice suddenly sounded again. Did you succeed this time? Your skills didn't change, so you definitely didn't succeed. You brat. You really disappoint me. You didn't even seize such a heaven-sent opportunity. You're pissing me off. Previously, Tian Chanzi had already been sealed by Tang Zheng's sealing technique. After all, he and Feng Shusher were so intimate that he didn't want Tian Chanzi to know. So as soon as the seal was lifted, Tian Chanzi couldn't wait to ask. Do you think everyone is as thirsty as you? Things have to be done step by step, do you understand? Tang Zheng said without any good feelings. Humph, I think you're an idiot. You brat. Don't tell me you have a problem in that area. That's why you dilly-dallied for so long. Tian Chanzi maliciously guessed. You're the one with a problem. The next day, Tang Zheng was practicing martial arts at home when he suddenly heard someone ask from outside the door, Tang Zheng, are you home? Who is it? It's me, Lu Qingmei. A cold voice came in, followed by the sound of footsteps. It was clear that she had already entered the room. Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Lu Qingmei run over? If she found out that my body has recovered, then it would be terrible. Thus, he quickly lied down on the bed and pretended to be weak and said, "Oh, it's Teacher Lu. Why did you come? I'm sorry, I can't move right now, so I can't properly entertain you." Just as he finished speaking, Lu Qingmei walked into the bedroom and looked down at him with a bag of fruits in her hand. "Teacher Lu, please sit." Tang Zheng weakly greeted her. Lu Qingmei looked at him as if she wanted to see through him. After a while she said, "Is your body better?" "A bit better. After a few more days of rest, I can move." "Teacher Lu, I've troubled you to personally come," Tang Zheng said, gratefully. "It's nothing. Tomorrow is the monthly exam. I wanted to see if you could participate in it. You promised me that you would get first place in the school." Lu Qingmei said straightforwardly. Tang Zheng had a headache. This woman really didn't forget about this matter. He could only pretend to be regretful and said, "Teacher Lu, you've also seen my condition. I really can't go to school." His face cooperated with her to make a regretful expression. "Relax, I won't force you. Since you can't participate in the last monthly exam, then wait for the high school exam. At that time, nothing will happen to you, right?" "No, definitely not. After all, I still have to go to university." "That's good. Then I'll wait for you to get first place in the high school exam. Also, when your injuries are better, I have something to discuss with you." "What is it?" "When the time comes, you'll know. So hurry up and recover. I won't disturb your rest." Lu Qingmei put down the fruits and left under Tang Zheng's suspicious gaze. What followed was very calm. Only in the evening did he arrive at the restaurant that he had agreed to meet with the Fong family. It was a very high-class Chinese restaurant and was very majestic. Tang Zheng was led by the waiter to a private room that was already reserved. When he pushed open the door and entered, Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin were already there. Shi Mengqin coldly glanced at him and coldly snorted, directly ignoring his existence. Fang Chonghua nodded at him and said, "Little Tang, come in and sit. Shirshir is still in the car and will only arrive in a while." Tang Zheng sat down and Fang Chonghua handed him the menu. "You can order whatever you like." Tang Zheng moved the menu away and said, "I'll order when Shirshir arrives." "That's fine. Since we have time now, let's have a chat. Little Tang, let's get straight to the point. This time you saved Shirshir and we are very grateful, so we prepared a gift for you." Fang Chonghua pushed a bank card in front of Tang Zheng. "There is 1,000,000 in here. This is not a small amount. Treat it as your reward. But I have a condition. As long as you agree, this 1,000,000 is yours." Fang Chonghua calmly said. Shi Mengqin looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes filled with ridicule and disdain. Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see it and said, "I saved Shirshir not for money." "Little Tang, young people should not speak so firmly. I only have one condition, which is for you to leave Shirshir and never bother her again. You and her are not people from the same world. Even if you spend more time and effort, you two will never be together. Loyal words are unpleasant to the ear. Perhaps you feel that these words are not pleasant to hear, but this is reality. With this 1,000,000, you can buy a house and improve your living conditions. Moreover, it will be enough for your university tuition, so you will benefit the most." Tang Zheng stared at Fang Chonghua and said, "You want to use money to bribe me and make me leave Shirshir?" "It's not a bribe. It's a win-win situation." Fang Chonghua was willing to use money to pave the way. He originally wanted to send Fang Shirshir out of the country after the high school exams so that the two of them would not have a chance. But now it seemed that the two of them were developing out of control, so he used money to smash Tang Zheng. Chapter 109. Throwing money. This was a common tactic used by rich people, but they were all nouveau riche. Even though the Fang family had always boasted of their heritage, they were still unable to get rid of these vulgar tactics. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin both looked at Tang Zheng. 1,000,000 was not a small sum to normal people, not to mention Tang Zheng's family, so they firmly believed that Tang Zheng would accept it. In the past, they did not think of using money to throw down Tang Zheng because they felt that Tang Zheng was not worth the effort. This time, They found that the situation was already very serious, so they chose this safe method. Tang Zhang indifferently glanced at it, but did not reach out to take it. Instead, he put his hand into his pocket and took out an envelope and said, "This is the medical fees that you paid for me. I'm returning it to you." Feng Chonghua and Shi Mengqin looked at each other, unable to hide their surprise. What was going on? They were throwing money at him, so why was he giving them money instead? Feng Chonggua's face gradually became serious. He already understood Tang Zheng's attitude from his actions, but he still did not give up and advised, "Tang Zheng, your family is not rich. Accepting this 1 million will be good for you, so you don't need to force yourself. Being young and full of vigor is a good thing, but you also need to know your limits. Today, I specially invited you here to let you and Shirshir have one last meal and then go your separate ways." Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he pushed the envelope in front of the other party and said, "You have spent so much effort, but I will have to disappoint you. I have already said that I will not leave Shirshir, so your efforts are futile." "Tang Zheng, don't be so shameless. You don't know what's good for you. Be careful that we don't give you this 1 million and let you continue to be a pauper." Shi Mengqin finally could not help but slap the table and arrogantly scolded, "You should keep it for yourself. You can buy a few more branded bags. If you want to break us up, you really can't do it." Since the other party went straight to the point, Tang Zheng did not feign civility and directly stood up to leave. The couple looked at Tang Zheng in shock. They did not think that he would be so resolute and not even put 1 million in his eyes. "Tang Zheng, do you think 1 million is too little?" Feng Chonghua asked. "Humph, I don't have much money, but I don't need your money." Tang Zheng walked towards the door without looking back. "Fine, Tang Zheng, you better remember this. I won't give you this 1 million, but you better not regret it. You are just a small character without any power or influence. I don't believe I can't deal with you." Shi Mengqin stood up and threatened with an ashen face. Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear and opened the door, only to find that Feng Shirshir had just walked to the door. Feng Shirshir looked at him in surprise and said, "You're here. Why, are you going out to pick me up?" Before he could say anything, Feng Shirshir had already pulled him back into the private room. "Dad, Mom, have you ordered? I'm a little hungry." Tang Zheng originally wanted to leave, but Feng Shirshir came. He could not leave and was pulled back to his seat. "Okay, I'll immediately order. You sit for a while first." Feng Chonghua calmly said as if nothing had happened. Shi Mengqin's shrewdness was clearly much worse as she coldly snorted and said, "I'm going to the restroom." She glared at Tang Zheng and left the private room. Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see anything as he whispered with Feng Shirshir. Feng Shirshir inquired about his well-being, asked him how his body was, and also talked about the latest news in school. Her face was brimming with smiles from beginning to end. Feng Chonghua glanced at it and his eyelids jumped as he lightly wrinkled his eyebrows. What is this envelope?" Feng Shirshir suddenly asked. "My medical fees," Tang Zheng said. "Medical fees?" Feng Shirshir immediately understood what was going on. Her expression changed as she solemnly said, "Tang Zheng, take it back. You were injured because of me, so the medical fees should be paid by our family." Without any explanation, she stuffed the envelope into Tang Zheng's pocket. "Right, little Tang, you should take it back. We don't lack this bit of money." Feng Chonghua also said. Tang Zheng once again placed the envelope on the table. "I am a person of principle. I am hospitalized myself, so I must pay for it." "Tang Zheng, is there a need for the two of us to draw such a clear line?" Feng Shirshir rebuked as she glared at him. These words caused Feng Chonggua's heart to tremble as he felt that this matter was becoming more and more thorny. However, it was also urgent that the two of them be separated. Otherwise, this matter would truly be irreversible. The envelope was stuffed back in. Just at this moment, there was a pong sound as the private room's door was suddenly pushed open and a scream rang out. "Let go of me, you bunch of trash. You must have eaten the guts of a leopard to dare make a move against me. I will definitely let you all die a horrible death." This voice could not be any more familiar as several people turned their heads to look. They saw Shi Mengqin in a sorry state being grabbed by the hair as she stumbled in. Feng Chonghua immediately stood up as he solemnly looked at the few fierce-looking youths. "Let go!" Feng Chonghua angrily roared. The few youths completely ignored his roar as they fiercely grabbed Xi Mengqin's hair and asked, "Are you guys together?" Xi Mengqin felt pain as she cried out, it hurts so much. Hurry and let go of me. Who are you people? Hurry and let go of my wife or I will call the police. Feng Chonghua arrogantly said. Call the police? We are so scared. Then call the police. We will stand here and wait for the police to come so we can have a good talk. The youths were clearly not afraid of the police as they carelessly urged him. Feng Chonghua was shocked as from the other side's clothes and tone, he could tell that they were not high-level people and were probably from the underworld. If it was a normal person, Feng Chonghua would have a way to deal with them. However, these underworld people were vicious and merciless and did not act according to common sense. Feng Chonghua had always despised them, but he would always keep a respectful distance and not dare to provoke them. This time, he actually bumped into the muzzle of a gun. For a moment, he was at a loss as to what to do as he did not know how his wife got into a conflict with this group of people. Let go of my mom. Feng Sheshe was stunned for a moment before she also stood up and angrily glared at them. If you have something to say, then say it properly. Is there a need to make a move? Making a move is against the law. Yo, there is also a little beauty here. The few people's attention was immediately attracted by Feng Sheshe. Is this your mom? No matter how I look at her, she doesn't look like her at all. You are much prettier than her. Feng Sheshe was so angry that her face turned red as she said, hurry and let her go. Let her go? It's not that easy. She bumped into people and not only did she not apologize, she was also full of filthy words. If we don't teach her a lesson, then wouldn't we be teaching a beauty like you a bad thing? The young man said with an evil smile. Feng Chonghua walked in front of the other party and retorted, I think you guys are the ones causing trouble. Right, Chonghua, they are the blind dogs. They bumped into me and even hit me. Xi Mengqin shrieked with disheveled hair. Yo, your ability to invert black and white is really amazing. It was clearly you who bumped into us and your mouth is full of shit, yet you still dare to say that we hit you. I originally did not like hitting women, but since you said I hit you, then I will fulfill your wish. Pa! A resounding slap fiercely landed on Xi Mengqin's face. Xi Mengqin was clearly stunned and even forgot to scream. However, in the next second, her scream was so loud that it seemed as if it could lift the roof. You really dared to hit me. This is overturning the heavens. Chonghua, hurry and teach them a lesson. Teach them a lesson. They actually dared to hit me. Her voice was filled with anger and disbelief. Hey, is this woman stupid? Does she really think that she is the heavenly emperor and can do whatever she wants in this ordinary balance? Why doesn't she take a piss and look at herself? Hang. The others all mocked. Feng Chonghua's face was ashen. His wife was hit in front of him and that slap was like a slap to his face. It was burning hot and he was completely enraged. Relying on his tall stature, he punched out and loudly roared, let go. Okay, since you want to make a move, then we brothers will accompany you to play. The young man released Xi Mengqin and walked up to Feng Chonghua. Although Feng Chonghua was taller than the other, he lived like a prince, so how could he be the other's opponent? After being punched in the stomach, he hugged his stomach and squatted down, his face becoming the color of pig liver. Haha, nice to look at but useless. So he was just an idiot. The others all began to laugh. Xi Mengqin hid to the side, shivering. Don't look at how high and mighty she was normally. Seeing this scene, she immediately realized that something was wrong. That kind of high and mighty attitude was useful against others, but it was completely useless against these young men who used their fists to speak. Seeing the other party smile at her, she was so scared that she actually retreated a few steps, knocking into the table. Hey, now you know fear? If you had apologized earlier, wouldn't all of this have happened? The few people stepped closer. Xi Mengqin was truly panicking. Suddenly, Feng Sheshe bravely stepped forward and stood in front of her. She fearlessly glared at the few people and said, You are not allowed to harm my mother. Little beauty, your guts are quite big. You are much stronger than your parents. The young man laughed. But if you do something wrong, then you must be punished. Just now, she didn't just curse me with 1 or 2 sentences. How can 1 slap be enough? 2 more slaps and then this matter will be considered over. If you want to harm my mother, then I will fight it out with you. Feng Sheshe did not shrink back. Then I can only ruthlessly destroy the flower. You are not allowed to touch my daughter. Feng Chonghua stood up and staggered in front of the door. At this moment, even though his heart was filled with fear, he still had the instinct to protect his family. You are not our opponent. Obediently stand to the side. The young man pushed Feng Chonghua aside and extended his hand to grab Feng Shishir. Tang Zheng had been quietly observing the situation. In truth, he believed the other party's words. With Xi Mingqin's arrogant personality, this conflict was most likely caused by her. Ever since he came into contact with Lin Hu, he gradually realized that the people of the underworld were not completely unreasonable. Thus, he deliberately remained calm and collected to see how the situation would develop. Perhaps, he harbored some evil thoughts and wanted to see this couple make a fool of themselves. However, Feng Shishir's performance was out of his expectations. The usually gentle girl was actually not afraid of such an enemy, and even dared to confront them. Seeing the other party attack Feng Shishir, Tang Zheng knew that he could not continue to quietly observe the situation. Thus he stood up. Chapter 110. Feng Shishir was actually afraid, but there were some things that had to be done even if one was afraid, such as protecting one's family. Seeing the other's large hand grab at her, she subconsciously wanted to scream but discovered that a hand had reached out from behind her. Her heart trembled. That's right, she had Tang Zheng to protect her, so what was there to be afraid of? Immediately, her heart calmed down, like a person in the middle of a storm who had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. There was no fear, but instead a faint expectation. The young man originally thought that he would be able to catch her, but discovered that his hand was grabbed by another hand. That hand was like a pair of iron pincers, making him unable to move. He looked up and discovered a young face. This face was somewhat familiar, but he did not know where he had seen it before. Who are you? Those who mingled in the underworld also had a bit of eyesight. From Tang Zheng's iron pincer-like hand, they could determine that the other party was not like Feng Chonghua, who was only good for looking but useless. If you want to talk, then talk. Why are you making a move? Tang Zheng reprimanded. Who do you think you are? The other party's face flushed red as he angrily said. Tang Zheng coldly smiled as his hand exerted force, causing the other party to cry out miserably as the veins on his forehead popped out. Upon seeing this, the other youths became restless as they loudly roared, "Let him go!" Greater than oracle to Tang Zheng swept his eyes over the other party, but no one dared to make a move. Feng Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng in shock as he never thought that he would have such a move. It seems like his previous investigation was not thorough enough as he actually knew martial arts. Xi Mingqin's eyes lit up as her spirit was instantly restored. She arrogantly shouted, "Tang Zheng, teach them a lesson for me and let them know my strength." Tang Zheng did not move, but he felt Feng Shishir tug on his clothes from behind. He turned his head and smiled at her. "Relax, no one can hurt you." Feng Shishir sweetly smiled as she happily nodded her head, feeling especially safe. Women needed a sense of security, and Tang Zheng was undoubtedly someone who could give others a sense of security, especially at this critical moment. Xi Mingqin, seeing that she was ignored, flew into a rage. "Tang Zheng, did you hear what I said? Teach this group of trash a lesson for me." Tang Zheng looked at her indifferently and let go of her hand. That person took a few deep breaths and hurriedly took a few steps back and asked in horror, "Who are you?" "Who are you people?" Tang Zheng asked. One of the young men stared fixedly at Tang Zheng. Suddenly, a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He quickly whispered something in the ear of the young man in the lead. The young man's eyes instantly widened as he asked incredulously, "You are young Master Tang?" "Young Master Tang." The others all revealed looks of horror, as if they had met their nemesis, and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. These two words seemed to have boundless magical power, causing people to tremble in fear. Tang Zheng suspiciously looked at the other party as they actually recognized him. Only Lin Hu knew how to address him, so could it be that he was one of Lin Hu's people? Feng Chonghua and Xi Mingqin looked at each other as they were at a loss. Were these people stupid? They actually called this poor bastard young Master Tang. What a joke. What kind of young master was he? Wasn't he just a trash picker? Since you know who I am, then why haven't you apologized to this young miss? Since the other party was one of Lin Hu's people, Tang Zheng did not plan to pursue the matter. That person was in fear and trepidation as he deeply bowed towards Feng Shishir and bitterly begged, "This young miss, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. You are a great person, so please don't lower yourself to my level. I beg you to let me go." Feng Shishir was still in a state of shock as she looked at this person who was originally flaunting his power and was actually apologizing to her. She was a little stunned. Feng Chonghua felt even more incredulous as he had been in the business world for half his life and had never seen such a strange thing. Shi Mengqin was also confused, but her face revealed an arrogant and excited expression as she arrogantly ordered, "Ruthlessly teach him a lesson." Feng Shishir directly looked at Tang Zhang, hoping that he would make a decision. Tang Zhang nodded his head and said, "After apologizing, you can leave. There is nothing for you to do here." "Yes, thank you, young Master Tang. We will first take our leave." The other party called out to his companions and hurriedly retreated, carefully closing the door behind him. The atmosphere in the private room relaxed as Shi Mengqin stared at Tang Zhang with dissatisfaction and said, "Why didn't you ruthlessly teach him a lesson? How could it be that simple after apologizing?" Tang Zhang inwardly shook his head as Shi Mengqin, this kind of unreasonable mother, was able to raise a well-educated daughter like Feng Shishir. It was a miracle that Feng Shishir did not have that kind of bad temper. "If you want to teach them a lesson, then go yourself." Tang Zhang crossed his arms as he looked at Shi Mengqin with ridicule. "What kind of tone is that? Daring to speak to me like that? You must be overturning the heavens." Shi Mengqin clamored as she was afraid of those people but was not afraid of Tang Zhang. Fortunately, Feng Chonghua was smart and stopped his wife as he nervously said, "Little Tang, let's quickly leave this place. They just mistook you for someone else, and when they find out the truth, they will definitely come back. At that time, we will be in trouble." It was clear that Feng Chonghua did not believe that Tang Zhang was the young Master Tang and thought that they had mistaken him for someone else. Tang Zhang smiled but did not refute. Feng Shishir was clearly dissatisfied as her boyfriend had solved this problem, but her parents did not believe in his ability, so she pulled Tang Zhang to sit down and said, "I am not afraid. With Tang Zhang here, no one can harm us. Shishir, this is not the time to mess around. Those people do not look like good people, so we should quickly leave this place." Feng Chonghua became serious as he was clearly scared by this group of people. Feng Shishir pouted and said, "It was clearly a family eating happily, but it ended up like this. How boring." "Shishir, if you want to eat then order. It's okay." Tang Zhang passed the menu to her without a trace of fear, causing Feng Chonghua to frown and said, "Tang Zhang, this is not the time to be brave. If you want to eat then go to another restaurant." Shi Mengqin agreed, Sure, let's go. If he wants to eat then let him eat alone. If he wants to die then don't drag us down with him." After saying this, she pulled Feng Shishir and was about to leave. "Mom, what are you doing?" Feng Shishir unhappily broke free from her mother's hand. Feng Chonghua solemnly said, "Shishir, listen to your mom. Let's go." He glanced at Tang Zhang and inwardly shook his head. Being young and impetuous was not a good thing, and this kind of person usually did not have a good ending. Immediately, he became even more determined to separate his daughter and Tang Zhang. Creak. The door opened, causing several people to jump in fright as they all looked towards the door. A group of people blocked the door, causing Feng Chonghua and Shi Mengqin's faces to turn pale as they hastily retreated. "See, I told you to quickly leave. Now that people have come knocking on our door, we can't leave even if we want to." Shi Mengqin roared in panic as she looked at Tang Zhang with incomparable disgust. Feng Chonggua's face was also ugly. Feng Shishir looked at Tang Zhang with concern only to see him calmly sitting on the fishing platform without any reaction. A person who looked like a leader swaggered in and Shi Mengqin pointed at Tang Zhang and shouted, "It's him. All of this was caused by him. He was the one who pretended to be someone else and has nothing to do with us." "Mom, how can you be like this?" Feng Shishir said with a belly full of anger. Feng Chonghua did not stop her as his heart was apprehensive. From the leader's aura, he could see that he was not an ordinary person. This was especially true for the fierce aura around him, which caused his heart to tremble in fear. Tang Zhang stood up without the slightest trace of fear on his face as he walked towards the other party. The others looked at him in shock while Feng Shishir pulled on him with concern written all over her face. Tang Zhang patted her hand to make her feel at ease before walking towards the newcomer. A clear and bright laugh suddenly sounded. "Young Master Tang, it really is you. I heard from my little brother that they had mistaken you for someone else. The newcomer was an old acquaintance, Lin Hu. When he heard his little brother say that he had provoked Tang Zheng, he jumped in fright and hurried over. Tang Zheng nodded his head and said, "It was just a small misunderstanding." Lin Hu's heart relaxed. Since Tang Zheng said that it was a small misunderstanding, then this matter was not that serious. Of course, he could not appear relaxed as he turned his head to look at his little brother and fiercely said, "Scram out here." The young man from before stood up in fear and with a put-on sound, knelt down in front of Tang Zheng. He laid his head on the ground and trembled. The others all looked at Tang Zheng with the same expression. All in all, it was fear. Feng Chonghua and Shi Mengqin were dumbstruck. If they thought that the other party had mistaken him for someone else, but now that the boss had arrived, how could the boss have mistaken him for someone else? The answer was obviously no. But this did not make sense. The poor bastard in their eyes was actually revered by this group of people. They felt that their worldview was about to collapse. Shi Mengqin licked her lips and looked at her husband. She did not know what to say. Feng Chonggua's mouth was dry and his throat moved. In the end, he did not say anything. On the contrary, Feng Shesher's face was filled with excitement as her large eyes glowed. Tang Zheng's image in her heart instantly became even greater. This is Boss Fan's head, Saber's eye. He is currently working for me. This time, I specially invited all my little brothers to eat together to consolidate their hearts. I never thought that he would actually provoke you. Lin Hu said with a complicated feeling. After he took over Boss Fan's territory, the majority of Boss Fan's little brothers had pledged allegiance to him. This time, he specially invited his little brothers to eat together in order to win their hearts and make them sincerely pledge allegiance to him. He never thought that Saber's eye would actually provoke Tang Zheng, causing him to not know what to do. Saber's eye and the others had all participated in the forest battle. However, Tang Zheng came quickly and left quickly. Although he left a deep impression on others, not many people remembered his appearance. There was a clever person who remembered him, which was why he spoke out to remind Saber's eye. Young Master Tang. This name was too resounding among this group of people. That battle was won by Tang Zheng and Boss Fan was even crippled by Tang Zheng. How could they provoke such a fierce person? Moreover, the new boss and Tang Zheng's relationship was not shallow. To provoke the boss's friend right after pledging allegiance to the new boss was simply seeking death. Young Master Tang, I beg you to let me go. I will never dare to do this again. In the future, I will be your cow or horse to repay you. Saber's eye's heart was like dead ashes as he begged in fear. Chapter 111. Dao Zai was actually a person who dared to fight and was definitely not a coward, but he was currently a rootless duckweed. If he could not establish himself under the new boss, then his future days would be very difficult. The underworld was Jianghu. The people of Jianghu seemed to have a rich and colorful life, but in reality, how much bitterness was hidden was difficult for outsiders to know. Where there were people, there would be grudges. The grudges of Jianghu were even more endless and the grudges were even more intense. Therefore, if a Jianghu person wanted to leave Jianghu, it would be very difficult unless they reached Huang Biao's level and did not fear the revenge of others. Otherwise, even if it was Lin Hu, he would not dare to leave Jianghu. Leaving meant that he would lose his power and his enemies would come knocking on his door. Without the care of his fellow soldiers, it was possible that one day he would end up as a corpse on the streets. Dao Zai understood this point, which was why his heart was like dead ashes. Lin Hu looked at Tang Zheng but did not say anything. If Tang Zheng really punished Dao Zai, then he would have nothing to say. In his heart, Tang Zheng's position surpassed anyone else. Everyone's eyes all focused on Tang Zheng's body as he was the focus of the crowd. The private room was completely silent as even Shi Mengqin stopped her clamoring, leaving only the sound of slightly hurried breathing. Tang Zheng and Lin Hu looked at each other. He naturally understood Dao Zai's meaning to Lin Hu. Moreover, Dao Zai did not make too big of a mistake, so he bent down and supported Dao Zai's arm. Dao Zai's entire body trembled, showing the great fear in his heart. Stand up. You are Huzi's brother, so of course you are my brother. Brothers of the same family, this is also called, no discord, no concord. Tang Zheng calmly said. In Dao Zai's ears, this voice was like the sound of nature. No voice in the world was more pleasant than this voice. He was especially excited as he timidly looked at Tang Zheng. Discovering that the other was not lying, he hurriedly said, "Young Master Tang is magnanimous. In the future, Dao Zai will do anything for you without hesitation." That sonorous and powerful tone was not the least bit fake. Tang Zheng smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "Properly follow Huzi and your days will only get better and better." "Yes, young Master Tang." Dao Zi nodded respectfully. Lin Hu smiled. After such a ruckus, he unexpectedly did not make Dao Zi and the others bitterly disappointed. Instead, he was able to rope them in. He felt that Tang Zheng was simply his lucky star, so he laughed heartily and said, "Young Master Tang's breadth of mind is truly admirable. Everyone else, leave. Don't disturb young Master Tang's mood of eating." The younger brothers filed out and closed the door. Lin Hu pulled Tang Zheng and said, "Are these young Master Tang's friends?" "Let me introduce myself first. My name is Lin Hu. I'm a rough man and I'm trying to make a living in ordinary balance." Feng Chonghua quickly changed his expression and shook hands with Lin Hu saying, "This humble one is Feng Chonghua. Director Feng, nice to meet you." Lin Hu said warmly. Shi Mengqin wanted to say something but hesitated. Feng Chonghua's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick as he hurriedly stopped his wife, afraid that she would say something that would offend the other party. Feng Chonghua had never heard of Lin Hu's name, but it was clear that the other party was not an ordinary person. It was best not to provoke him. What he was most puzzled about was the relationship between Tang Zheng and Lin Hu. It seemed that Lin Hu was very respectful towards him. But this did not make sense. Could it be that Tang Zheng was the son of some big-shot family and deliberately maintained a low profile? But what kind of big-shot family would pick up trash and live in a broken house? He had a stomach full of questions and was prepared to go home and properly ask his daughter about Tang Zheng's background. Feng Shishir was very happy as Tang Zheng had resolved this crisis, making her feel that she had face in front of her parents. In the future, there would be less resistance, so she pulled Tang Zheng and happily ordered the dishes. Feng Chonghua and Shi Mengqin became supporting characters and did not say a word. Lin Hu would occasionally whisper a few words to Tang Zheng before raising his head to look at the Feng couple. His expression clearly changed. The two were shocked as they did not know what Tang Zheng said. They were deeply afraid that he would say bad things about them, but they did not dare to directly ask. Don't look at how Lin Hu was respectful in front of Tang Zheng and did not put on any airs. That was because Tang Zheng was strong enough to make Lin Hu accept him wholeheartedly. In front of others, Lin Hu's aura was not weak. After all, he had been in Zhonghu for tens of years and his domineering aura could not be concealed. Every time Lin Hu glanced at them, the two's hearts would suddenly jump. However, Lin Hu's attitude towards Feng Shishir was clearly much better as he was not stingy with his praises, causing her to beam with joy. In reality, Tang Zheng did not say bad things about the Feng couple and was only speaking the truth. Moreover, Lin Hu was not an idiot. He could see that the two were clearly dissatisfied with Tang Zheng and could not help but snort disdainfully. He had seen many of these so-called successful people who thought that they could fly to the sky with just a little bit of money. In his eyes, they were not worth mentioning. As they spoke, a table full of dishes was served. Lin Hu poured a cup of wine and said, "Young Master Tang, let me toast you." "I'll drink it. You can drink as much as you want." The culture of the wine table was broad and profound. Just this simple sentence contained too many profound meanings. Feng Chonghua naturally understood the profound meaning behind it, and that was that Lin Hu had lowered his status to a very low level. Tang Zheng also drank it in one gulp. Lin Hu gave him face so he naturally would return it. "Director Feng, let's drink," Lin Hu also said. His attitude towards Feng Chonghua was clearly much more casual. Shi Mengqin was about to flare up but was stopped by her husband. "Mr. Lin, let me toast you." Feng Chonghua smiled and drank first. Lin Hu also raised his head and drank, saying, "Young Master Tang, I still have guests to take care of so I'll go first. You guys take your time eating." Tang Zheng nodded his head. Dong dong. Just at this moment, a knock sounded out and the door was pushed open. A woman walked in. This woman was around 30 years old and had a strong aura. She was dressed in martial attire and exuded a heroic spirit. Although she could not be considered beautiful, she was very pleasing to the eye. "Brother Hu, You ran over here and left me to drink alone. That's not good enough. She leisurely walked over and said in a coquettish yet angry tone. Lin Hu stood up and laughed. Fire Phoenix, look, aren't I just about to go over? Tang Zheng thoughtfully looked at the person who came in. So she was actually Fire Phoenix. It seems like Lin Hu has already begun to carry out his plan to rope her in. Fire Phoenix's almond eyes swept over the several people. Her gaze paused on Feng Shishir's face as she said in her heart, "What a beautiful girl." However, she directly ignored Tang Zheng. This was because Tang Zheng was indeed very ordinary. He did not have the tyrannical aura of a tiger and was just like an ordinary high school student. Moreover, there was a bit of shyness between his eyebrows, giving off the feeling of a neighbor's big boy. Brother Hu, why don't you introduce your friend to me? Are you afraid that I will steal your business? Fire Phoenix said with a smile. Fire Phoenix, my small business is not worthy of your attention. Lin Hu paused for a moment and solemnly introduced, "This is young Master Tang." Fire Phoenix's gaze finally fell on Tang Zheng's body. Her eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment, but she immediately smiled like a flower and said, "Young Master Tang, nice to meet you." From Lin Hu's tone, she could hear the respect he had for Tang Zheng. Moreover, he was the first to introduce Tang Zheng. This meant that the other party's identity was not ordinary. To be worthy of the title of young Master Tang, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Her mind quickly flashed past Ordinary Balance and other large families. However, none of them had the surname Tang. This made her unable to see through Tang Zheng's background. Fire Phoenix, your reputation is not as good as meeting you in person. Nice to meet you. Tang Zheng nodded. Fire Phoenix smiled. Oh, young Master Tang, you have actually heard of my name. It is my honor. Her gaze turned and looked at the other people. What about these people? Lin, who had not yet introduced when Feng Chonghua took the initiative to stand up and excitedly said, Chief Fire, I am Ding Tai Real Estate's Feng Chonghua. I am currently discussing with your company about cooperation. Feng Chonghua was really excited. He had never met Fire Phoenix before, but her name was like thunder to his ears. This was because her name in the real estate industry was too resounding. She had a construction company under her. The company was not large, but its strength was strong, especially in the area of demolition. Many of the difficult areas in Ordinary Balance were taken care of by her. Nowadays, there were two most difficult areas in the real estate industry. One of them was the land, and the other was the demolition. Many places in the country were boiling with resentment because of the demolition. Group incidents occurred frequently, and many officials were implicated because of this. And Fire Phoenix's demolition company was one of the oddities in Ordinary Balance. They could quickly take care of those nail-biters. Moreover, they would not let them complain or ask for help. Many of the Ordinary Balance's real estate companies would ask her for help. Thus, her position was very special. Feng Chonghua was jealous of the real estate boom. He had also set up a real estate company and painstakingly took over the land. But now, he was stuck in the demolition process, causing his work to stop. Seeing the money flowing out, his heart ached. He was so anxious that he was on fire. He tried to find Fire Phoenix through his connections, but to no avail. This was because Fire Phoenix was very busy. Or it could be said that she had a lot of big clients. Thus, she did not want to see a small client like him. He never thought that he would actually meet Fire Phoenix. And this was all thanks to Tang Zheng. This made him have mixed feelings, but he was more happy because his problem could be solved. Fire Phoenix nodded and said, Oh, so it's Chief Feng. Nice to meet you. If you had said earlier that you were Brother Hu's friend, then we would have cooperated a long time ago. Fire Phoenix's heart moved as she judged the other party's intention to find her. Naturally, since he was Lin Hu's friend, her attitude was a lot better. Feng Chonghua looked at Lin Hu with a complicated expression. He really could not guess what kind of person he was to have such a good relationship with Fire Phoenix. Feng Chonghua personally poured a cup of wine and said, Chief Fire, I am fortunate to meet you today. Let me give you a toast. As for the matter of cooperation, I will go to your company tomorrow to discuss it with you. He held the wine cup and wanted to pass it to Fire Phoenix. Fire Phoenix did not accept it but looked at Lin Hu thoughtfully. From Lin Hu's attitude, she could see a lot of peculiarities. Lin, whose attitude towards Feng Chonghua was cold, but he attached great importance to this young Master Tang. Fire Phoenix was a smart person, so how could she not understand the importance of this table? Thus, she smiled at Tang Zheng and said, "Young Master Tang, I wonder if I have the honor to drink with you?" What was called disparity? This was called disparity. Feng Chonghua took the initiative to propose a toast, but Fire Phoenix ignored him. However, she took the initiative to drink with Tang Zheng, and even said that it was her honor. The difference was like heaven and earth. Chapter 112. Feng Chonghua embarrassedly put down his wine cup and awkwardly looked at the crowd, as he never thought that his face would be swept away like this. Shi Mengqin finally could not bear it any longer as she fiercely slapped the table and said, "Tang Zheng, what is the meaning of this?" Lin, whose eyebrows immediately wrinkled as he coldly stared at Shi Mengqin. If not for Tang Zheng's gaze stopping him, he would have already flipped out. Fire Phoenix glanced at Feng Shishir as if deep in thought. Her eyebrows blossomed into a smile as she said, "Then you guys eat first, I'll be leaving first." She then nodded towards Tang Zheng and walked out. "Huzi, you go accompany Fire Phoenix," Tang Zheng calmly said. Lin, who stared at Shi Mengqin and said, "Young Master Tang, then I'll be leaving first. Call me if you have any orders." The two left and the atmosphere in the private room became stifling. Shi Mengqin arrogantly looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Are you relying on your gang of scoundrels to intimidate others?" Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he lightly said, "I didn't do anything, why would you say such a thing? Look at those people's attitudes. Young Master Tang. They aren't even ashamed." Shi Mengqin really lost face today, and seeing Tang Zheng admit defeat, her imposing manner became even stronger. "Mom, you are making trouble without reason. Tang Zheng helped us resolve the problem, yet you still criticize him. You are too unreasonable." Feng Shishir was so angry that her face turned red. "Shishir, I have raised you for so many years, yet now you are siding with an outsider. I am just stating the facts and speaking reason. I see that you don't have me as your mother in your eyes. What is so good about this little brat that he is worthy of you protecting him so wholeheartedly?" "He is good and I like him." Feng Shishir raised her head and said resolutely. "You." Shi Mengqin was so angry that her entire body trembled. "Enough." Feng Chonghua slammed his hand on the table, causing the plates to jump up. His face was ashen as he angrily said, "Making such a ruckus, where are your manners?" Shi Mengqin was also shocked, as she rarely saw him so angry. She hurriedly comforted him. "Chonghua, calm down. Don't lower yourself to this little brat's level." Feng Chonghua glared at her and said, "You're the one who made me angry. What was wrong with you just now? Why are you yelling at Tang Zheng?" Shi Mengqin was stupefied as she looked at her husband at a loss. She did not understand why her husband would say such a thing, as she was clearly protecting his face. Shi Mengqin was just a full-time housewife who wholeheartedly wanted to transform herself into a noble lady. She didn't care about Feng Chonghua's career at all, so of course, she wasn't aware of the crisis he was currently facing. Although Feng Chonghua's attitude towards Fire Phoenix made her a little surprised, but she was already filled with anger, and seeing her husband being humiliated, she couldn't help but explode. "Chonghua, I'm helping you." "Help me? I think you're the one who's harming me," Feng Chonghua unhappily said, unable to accomplish anything, but good at spoiling things. He originally thought that with his relationship with Tang Zheng, he would be able to form a relationship with Fire Phoenix, but this was completely destroyed by Shi Mengqin. Feng Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng, not knowing what to say. He had just treated Tang Zheng, so how could he speak up for him? "Go home. Don't make a fool of yourself outside." Shi Mengqin looked at her husband in alarm and then looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes flashing with hatred. Tang Zheng acted as if he didn't see it. Seeing Feng Shishir's dejected expression, he advised, "Shishir, go home and rest first. Tomorrow is the monthly exam, so do your best." Feng Shishir hesitantly nodded her head. The few of them went to the counter and prepared to pay the bill, but they were told that the bill had already been paid by Mr. Lin. Feng Chonghua's expression was complicated as he looked at Tang Zheng, and the family disappeared into the night. Tang Zheng shook his head, as tonight's series of unforeseen events were out of his expectations. He didn't know what the other party would think of him, but this wasn't his main concern. In any case, he didn't have a good impression of them. Young Master Tang. Someone called out from behind him. Huazi, is something the matter? Brother who invites you over. Huazi respectfully invited. Tang Zhang nodded his head, indicating for him to lead the way. The two of them arrived at a private room, where Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were sitting. Young Master Tang, I'm sorry for disturbing your meal. Fire Phoenix said apologetically. Tang Zhang sat down, shook his head and said, This has nothing to do with you. They have long been dissatisfied with me. Young Master Tang is such an outstanding youth. If they aren't satisfied, then they really don't have good eyesight. Fire Phoenix stared at Tang Zheng. Just now she had already asked Lin Hu about Tang Zheng's identity, but Lin Hu kept it a secret, which made her even more curious. You flatter me. I'm just a high school student, not some outstanding youth. Tang Zheng spoke the truth. He never bragged about his identity. High school student? Fire Phoenix's eyes widened in astonishment. She coquettishly glared at Lin Hu and said, Brother who didn't reveal your situation at all. You really want to hide an outstanding youth like young Master Tang from me? You're too mean. Lin Hu hurriedly explained, Fire Phoenix, you can't blame me for this. Young Master Tang's matters are best left to him. I don't dare to speak carelessly. Oh, then I'm all ears. Young Master Tang, you don't mind talking about your great achievements to broaden my horizons. Fire Phoenix's aura was very strong, but this series of words made her seem approachable. There was a strong sense of intimacy. I don't have any great achievements. If you really want to talk about something that surpasses others, then it's my academic results that are a bit special. Tang Zheng said with a smile. Academic results? Fire Phoenix snorted and laughed even more happily. This is the first time I've heard someone praise themselves like this. Then young Master Tang must be very powerful? Tang Zheng shook his head and said with a deadpan expression, Right now I'm the last in the school. Last. Fire Phoenix's laughter came to an abrupt stop. She was dumbstruck. Young Master Tang is really humorous. Interesting. But I'm very curious about young Master Tang and Brother Hu's relationship. Fire Phoenix had been invited to participate in Lin Hu's dinner party. It could be considered as her understanding of his strength. After all, this time Lin Hu's victory was too unimaginable. She had no choice but to pay attention to it. This time she discovered that Tang Zheng and Lin Hu's relationship was not shallow. Her intuition told her that Tang Zheng was related to Lin Hu's rise. She could not explain the reason, but it was a feeling that she had cultivated for many years. Brother Hu and I are good brothers. Tang Zheng said. Oh, I've never heard of you before. I wonder which family young Master Tang is from. I'll pay a visit some other day. Tang Zheng shook his head. That won't be necessary. My house is just a rundown house. It can't accommodate a great god like you. Young Master Tang really likes to joke. The more Fire Phoenix listened, the more confused she became. She thought that the other party was unwilling to say, so she did not continue to ask. She changed the topic and said, Just now I wanted to drink with young Master Tang but was not able to. Now I want to drink to my heart's content. Tang Zheng did not refuse. Lin Hu had already filled 3 cups of wine and said, Come, the 3 of us will drink a cup first. The 3 people drank in one gulp. Fire Phoenix immediately launched an attack. She continuously drank with Tang Zheng. Not long after, the bottle of wine was emptied. Lin Hu saw this and quickly advised, Fire Phoenix, who doesn't know that you won't get drunk even after 1,000 cups? Are you trying to get young Master Tang drunk? I see that young Master Tang's alcohol tolerance is not bad. When drinking with a close friend, 1,000 cups is not enough. It's been a long time since I drank to my heart's content. Today we must not leave until we are drunk. Young Master Tang, what do you say? Fire Phoenix's alcohol tolerance was very good. She wanted to get Tang Zheng drunk and then get some information from him. Fire Phoenix, I'll drink with you. Lin Hu pulled up his sleeves and boldly said, Brother Hu, I have drunk with you many times before. This time I don't want to drink with you. This time I want to drink with a handsome guy like young Master Tang. You go to the side. Lin Hu looked at Tang Zheng inquiringly. It was clear that he was asking about his alcohol tolerance. Tang Zheng rarely drank, but he could use his qi to dissolve the alcohol, so he was not afraid. Moreover, Fire Phoenix gave him a very good impression. In order to cooperate with her to deal with Hoodlum, he had to drink this wine. Good. Then I will risk my life to accompany you. We will not leave until we are drunk. Tang Zheng boldly said. The two people drank cup after cup of wine. Tang Zheng's expression did not change, but Fire Phoenix's face gradually changed. It was bright red like a ripe apple. Lin Hu looked at the two people drinking with interest. He gradually saw the knack of it. Tang Zheng's drinking was like drinking water. Moreover, the more he drank, the brighter his eyes became. This was very frightening. Lin Hu had never seen a person who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk, but Tang Zheng clearly had this tendency. Fire Phoenix held the cup of wine and could not drink anymore. Her stomach was overturning and many things wanted to rush out. She knew that she had reached her limit. She had not drunk like this for many years, but seeing Tang Zheng as if nothing had happened, she was both shocked and frightened. There was no one who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. After drinking a few jeans of wine, the effect of the alcohol had far exceeded the limit of what the human body could bear. But Tang Zheng was completely unaffected. This showed that he was using his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol. This was not a secret for martial artists. Fire Phoenix was also doing this, but after all, there was a time when one's internal energy was exhausted. So after drinking so much, her internal energy was no longer of any use. She was almost drunk. From this point, it showed that Tang Zheng's internal energy was much higher than hers. Fire Phoenix suddenly realized why Lin Hu was so respectful to him. Just who was the one who taught this youth to have such profound internal energy in his teens? Fire Phoenix was a third-grade refining body. This showed that Tang Zheng was at least a fourth-grade refining body. This was even more powerful than Huang Xiang in the past. Fire Phoenix did not dare to continue thinking because her thoughts were gradually becoming chaotic. She could not drink anymore, or else she would be making a fool of herself. Young Master Tang is good. I, Fire Phoenix, humbly admit defeat. Fire Phoenix gave a thumbs up and praised. Tang Zheng smiled and put down the cup. He had his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol, which was much more powerful than a martial artist's internal energy. He really could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. It was just that his stomach was a little uncomfortable. After eating and drinking, Brother Hu, now we can talk about the purpose of your invitation. Fire Phoenix let out a long breath and used her internal energy to suppress the effects of the alcohol. She maintained the last trace of clarity in her mind and lightly said. Chapter 113. Fire Phoenix said this in front of Tang Zheng because she wanted to test the relationship between Tang Zheng and Lin Hu. She guessed that Lin Hu must have something important to say to her. It probably had something to do with his future plans. If this matter did not allow Tang Zheng to avoid suspicion, then it could explain a lot of problems. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Who would have thought that Tang Zheng would take the initiative to stand up and cup his hands and say, "Then you can continue talking, I'll go home first." Fire Phoenix looked at him with astonishment. Young Master Tang won't stay for a while longer? It's already late. I want to go home. Tang Zheng tactfully declined. Young Master Tang, I'll send you off. Lin Hu stood up and walked out with Tang Zheng. At the entrance of the restaurant, Lin Hu suspiciously asked, Young Master Tang, you don't seem to want her to know about our relationship? Tang Zheng nodded. I'm currently a student, so it's not good for me to have too much contact with her. Moreover, I've already said very clearly that you can handle matters in the underworld by yourself. Only when needed will I make a move. I understand. I see that Fire Phoenix is very sincere, so this cooperation should be quite pleasant. Lin Hu speculated. Then I'll work hard. Tang Zheng waved his hand and walked home. Lin Hu looked at his back and thought for a while before turning around and returning to the private room. Fire Phoenix, I won't beat around the bush. This time I've taken over Boss Fan's territory and will definitely attract Hoodlum's attention. You know that I'm not Hoodlum's opponent, so I want to ask for your help. Oh, you want to ally with me to go against Hoodlum? Fire Phoenix raised her almond-shaped eyes with a smile that was not a smile. Yes. Behind Hoodlum is Master Huang. Aren't you afraid? Fire Phoenix asked. Afraid? Why wouldn't I be? What's the use of being afraid? Do you think Huang Si will just watch as I grow stronger and do nothing? Since he will deal with me sooner or later, I might as well prepare a countermeasure. Lin Hu revealed a fierce expression as he resolutely said, "You actually dare to call Grandpa Huang by his nickname? You've changed a lot recently. I almost couldn't recognize you." Fire Phoenix said with a hint of ridicule. In the past, Lin Hu was content with his own territory and did not have much fighting spirit. Now that he dared to go against Huang Si, Fire Phoenix had a whole new level of respect for him. It's impossible for a person to remain unchanged. Otherwise, he would be eliminated by the times. You've even become a philosopher, saying such philosophical words. Lin Hu ignored her teasing and continued, "I know that this matter is risky, but risk and opportunity coexist. As long as we take down Hoodlum, we can split his territory equally." Hee hee, you make it sound so simple. Do you think Grandpa Huang is so easy to deal with? Where are you going to find an expert who can contend with him? This was one of the problems in the ordinary balance underworld. Everyone wanted to be big and strong, but they could not avoid Huang Si. Although he had already retreated behind the scenes, as long as his benefits were harmed, he would definitely deal a heavy blow. You don't need to worry about this problem. Naturally, there will be someone who will step forward. Lin Hu was full of confidence. Since Tang Zheng dared to challenge the Huang clan and even made Huang Xiang suffer a loss, this showed that the power behind him was not to be underestimated. Fire Phoenix's smile disappeared as she solemnly looked at Lin Hu as if she did not recognize him. Who will step forward? This is a secret for now. Since it's a secret, then there's nothing to talk about. Don't worry, I won't tell Grandpa Huang, but your matter has nothing to do with me. When the time comes, just don't bite me. Fire Phoenix directly walked towards the door. Lin Hu's expression slightly changed as he said, "Fire Phoenix, don't tell me you don't want to take revenge for your husband?" Fire Phoenix suddenly stopped and turned around to stare at him. Her eyebrows were filled with killing intent. "Lin Hu, what do you mean? I don't believe that you have never suspected your husband's death. At that time he was like the sun in the sky and could even threaten Huang Si. Could it be that his death was really that simple?" Lin Hu did not care about her anger as he spoke to himself. Fire Phoenix's expression fluctuated but she did not say a word. Lin Hu's heart moved as he knew that he had guessed correctly. She was definitely still suspicious of Huang Si but she did not have any evidence. He decided to add fuel to the fire and said, "After your husband died, Huang Si quickly grew stronger, which is why he is where he is today. That is why he is the one who benefited the most. This is something that anyone with eyes can see. If you want revenge, then this time we will topple Hoodlum and cut off one of Huang Si's hands. In the future we will get rid of Huang Si and truly take revenge for your husband." You want to convince me with this? That's too simple. Wait until you are willing to tell me your trump card, then come find me. Fire Phoenix slammed the door and left. Lin Hu's expression fluctuated as he did not think that he would not be able to convince her. It seems that she was even more cautious than he thought. His trump card was Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng did not want to reveal his identity. This made him very helpless as he fell into a deadlock. In the following 2 days, Tang Zheng continued to cultivate at home in order to avoid the monthly exam. His qi had increased by quite a bit. What he needed the most now was to refine the spirit pill, but there was still no news from Yi Xuanji. However, he was not worried because Yi Xuanji would definitely take the bait. As expected, Yi Tianlei personally drove the car to bring him to the Ye family. The way Yi Tianlei looked at Tang Zheng was different from before. It was as if he was lamenting that he had misjudged him before. Tang Zheng was far more powerful than he had imagined. It was also as if he was rejoicing that Tang Zheng had finally given him the conditions and prevented this matter from developing in the worst direction. Of course, Yi Tianlei was also very clear that this matter was related to his wife and daughter. After all, this transaction also involved Yi Dingdong's benefits. "Tang Zheng, thank you." Suddenly, Yi Tianlei said in a serious tone. Tang Zheng looked at him and said, "This is a transaction. It's very fair. There is no need to thank me." Yi Tianlei shook his head. "I'm not talking about this. It's because you let Ding Dang get rid of her shackles." Of course it was the shackles of the marriage contract. Yi Tianlei clearly remembered how angry Yi Xuanji was when he found out about Tang Zheng's conditions. He did not care about the 300-year-old ginseng, but because his family was involved and used this condition to threaten him. He had always had absolute control over his family, but the ordinary Balancia family was not under his control for a long time and had already undergone subtle changes. He could no longer control this Ye family. But he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he could only swallow it. It's nothing. Moreover, this will make him very angry. I just don't want to see him happy. Tang Zheng said somewhat gloatingly. Yi Tianlei shook his head and smiled bitterly. This kid had a worse temper than he did in the past. He did not dare to treat the old man like this. In fact, although the old man's methods were indeed inappropriate, it was also for the benefit of the Ye family. Yi Tianlei explained. He did not want the conflict between the two sides to intensify. Tang Zheng waved his hand, indicating that he should stop talking. For me, the happiness of my family is more important than the illusory benefits of the family. I only know that he did not fulfill his responsibility as a grandfather, and that alone is enough. Yi Tianlei did not explain anymore. They were silent all the way to the Ye family manor. Yi Xuanji and the King of Medicine sat in the hall and whispered to each other. In front of them was a huge box. Yi Xuanji raised his head and glanced at Tang Zheng, then looked straight ahead. He did not look at him anymore, as if he did not want to see him. Of course, he did not want to see Tang Zheng. Although he had achieved his goal in the ordinary balance trip, he almost died of anger. It left a strong impression on him. Yi Dingdang walked down from the second floor. She smiled and winked at Tang Zheng. You're here. Today was the monthly break after the monthly exam, so she did not go to school. Tang Zheng nodded. Before he could say anything, Yi Xuanji pushed the box in front of him and said, 300-year-old ginseng. Tang Zheng walked over and opened it. A ginseng that looked like a miniature version of a human was lying there quietly. Even its facial features had the appearance of a human. Is this 300-year-old ginseng? Tang Zheng asked Tian Chanzi. He could not tell, but Tian Chanzi could. Yes, this has already taken shape. In fact, it already has a bit of spirituality. If it cultivates for a few hundred years, it will be able to transform into a human. Could it be that ginseng can really become a spirit? Tang Zheng was very surprised. Tian Chanzi said with disdain. Of course, many things in the world can become spirits. Ginseng contains the spirituality of the world, so it is easier for it to become a spirit. However, ginseng does not have much self-protection ability. After becoming a spirit, it is easy to be caught and used as a material for others to refine pills. That's quite pitiful. Tang Zheng sighed. What's so pitiful about it? Treasures of heaven and earth. This is their fate. Tang Zheng closed the box and took out the bottle from his pocket and placed it on the table. Yi Xuanji's eyes were immediately attracted to the bottle. He firmly grasped it in his hand and let out a sigh of relief. He looked up at Tang Zheng and expressionlessly said, Why don't you check this ginseng? What if it is not 300-year-old? I have already checked it. To be exact, it is 310-year. Tang Zheng lightly said. Yi Xuanji revealed a suspicious expression. He only knew that this was indeed 300-year-old ginseng, but he did not know how old it was. This thing was not as easy to find as gold and silver. He spent a lot of effort and a lot of money to find it. The King of Medicine could not help but raise his eyebrows and asked, Tang Zheng, how do you know this is 310-year ginseng? I can tell. Tang Zheng was still as calm as ever. There was a kind of steadiness and calmness that was completely inconsistent with his youth. The King of Medicine smacked his lips and said, In the past, my teacher also taught me a method to determine the age of ginseng, but it was not as accurate as yours. I could only tell that it was between 350-year-old. I never thought that you would be able to determine its exact age with just a glance. Tang Zheng curled his lips. This was what Tian Chanzi told me, so of course I can determine it. This method of identification must have been taught to you by your teacher, right? The King of Medicine somewhat enviously asked. Yes. Tang Zheng continued to push the responsibility to his non-existent teacher. Can you say it for me to see? Don't worry, I will exchange it with other things. Tian Chanzi, how did you determine it? Tang Zheng could not help but be curious. It is to sense the spirit of the ginseng. When your cultivation is high enough, you will naturally be able to do it. This old guy is not good, Tian Chanzi said. Senior King of Medicine, this method is not suitable for you, Tang Zheng honestly said. The King of Medicine regretfully shook his head and did not speak. Chapter 114. Yi Xuanji didn't care about how to identify the age of the ginseng and went straight to the point. Tang Zheng, how do I use this life-continuing pill? Just take it orally. Seeing his impatient appearance, Tang Zheng said. Is there anything else I need to take note of? The King of Medicine heard this and his attention was drawn over. There's no use. Maybe you'll sleep for a while. Tang Zheng said. Maybe. The King of Medicine and Yi Xuanji said at the same time, extremely surprised. How come he still didn't know the specifics? Right, there's no side effects anyways. Just take it, why ask so many questions? Tang Zheng was impatient. His attention was all on the ginseng and he couldn't wait to take it back and start refining it. Medicine can't be taken carelessly. If you don't clearly tell me how to take it, how would I dare to take it? Moreover, there's only one pill. If I don't take it properly, wouldn't it be wasted? Yi Xuanji said unhappily. This was a life-saving pill and there was only one of it, so he couldn't help but be careful. I said just take it directly. If you don't believe me, then pretend I didn't say anything. Tang Zheng was too lazy to waste his breath on him. The King of Medicine remembered that Mu Hongyan mentioned Nana's treatment process. He understood and said, Old friend Xuanji, just listen to Tang Zheng and take it directly. Uptak seeing that the King of Medicine was very confident, Yi Xuanji's heart finally fell to the ground and said, Then I'll go back to my room. I'll go with you. The King of Medicine also wanted to see the miraculous effects of the life-continuing pill. Remember the other condition. Ding Dang and Song Yu's engagement is cancelled. Tang Zheng saw that the other was so happy that he forgot himself and solemnly reminded him. Got it. Yi Xuanji didn't even turn his head and coldly snorted and went back to his room. Tang Zheng picked up the box and left. Yi Ding Dang chased after him and sincerely thanked him. She watched as Tang Zheng's car disappeared from her sight. At this moment, the shackles on her body were completely broken. She felt as free and relaxed as a swallow. When Tang Zheng returned home, he impatiently closed the door and took out the 9 revolving pill furnace from under his bed. The outer walls of the furnace were still blue, but this time it was spotless. The 9 revolving pill furnace is a magic treasure. As long as its spirituality is awakened, how could it be contaminated with dust? Tian Chanzi explained. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that it was indeed a treasure. He didn't even need to clean it. He then took out a large bag of medicinal ingredients. These were all bought from the pharmacy and cost him 200,000, which was more than the last time he refined the life-continuing pill. Because the spirit-gathering pill was a pill that required long-term consumption, he had to refine more of it, which was why he had bought so many raw materials. However, he didn't pour all of it into the furnace at once. This was his first time using the 9 revolving pill furnace and he wasn't sure of the specifics, so he decided to test it out first. He revolved his internal energy, and a light purple flame jumped from his fingertips. He only saw a light point, and the flame flew into the 9 revolving pill furnace. The purple light immediately illuminated the inner walls of the furnace, giving it a mysterious feeling. He then placed a bag of medicinal ingredients into the pill furnace. The flames immediately enveloped the medicinal ingredients. In almost an instant, all the medicinal ingredients turned into liquid spheres. They were sparkling and translucent as they floated within the pill furnace. Traces of gas rose from the spheres. These gases are impurities. The 9 revolving pill furnace will automatically remove them. Tian Chanzi explained. A magic treasure and a first-grade true fire refining pill. It was really different from the last time Tang Zheng refined the life-continuing pill. It was much more professional and much more advanced. Tang Zheng stared at the sphere and found that it was getting smaller and smaller. This was because the medicinal properties were condensing and condensing. He carefully opened the box, took out the ginseng, and prepared to cut a part of it with a knife and throw it into the furnace at the right time. Don't kill me, I beg you, don't kill me. Suddenly, a faint voice sounded, and Tang Zheng stopped in surprise, looking around. Tian Chanzi, did you hear someone talking? Talking? Who is talking? There are only the 2 of us here. Who else is talking? Tian Chanzi was baffled. Tang Zheng scratched his head. Could it be that he was hallucinating? He was just about to cut the ginseng when the voice sounded again, and this time it was even clearer. He dared to conclude that it was not a hallucination. I beg you, don't kill me. This pleading voice was very faint, as if a person was speaking weakly, making people feel pity. Who are you? Tang Zheng asked in a frightened voice. Could it be that he saw a ghost? He was clearly the only person in this room. Little brat, are you crazy? What kind of messy voice is this? Tian Chanzi suspiciously said. Shoo, quiet, listen, there really is a voice. She is still saying, who are you? Quickly speak, otherwise I will not be polite. Tang Zheng clenched the fruit knife in his hand. I am in your hand. The voice weakly said. In my hand. Tang Zheng looked down. In his right hand was a fruit knife. In his left hand was a ginseng. It should not be a fruit knife. His eyes could not help but be attracted by the ginseng. Could it be that this ginseng has become a spirit? Didn't Tian Chanzi say that a 300-year-old ginseng has not become a spirit? Are you a ginseng? Tang Zheng asked tentatively. That's me. What? Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide. This ginseng has really become a spirit. Tian Chanzi also noticed the strangeness, and hurriedly asked, Little brat, what is going on? Are you talking to this ginseng? Yes, this ginseng has become a spirit. Didn't you say that it is impossible for a 300-year-old ginseng to become a spirit? Tang Zheng asked in a bad mood. This Tian Chanzi boasted so much. How could he drop the ball at such a crucial moment? Impossible. How can a 300-year-old ginseng become a spirit? I have seen many 300-year-old ginseng before, but I have never seen or heard of such a situation. Tian Chanzi flatly denied. Hey, ginseng, then speak a bit louder. Let this old man also hear. Woo-woo, don't kill me, don't kill me. The voice became clearer. It was a girl's voice, and she was crying. Ginseng even knows how to cry. Tang Zheng felt that if he told others about it, they would think he was crazy, but now it was really crying and crying very sadly. It gave people a kind of heart-wrenching feeling. Did you hear it? Tang Zheng asked. I heard it. Tian Chanzi was silent for a moment, and then said in disbelief, What the hell, a 300-year-old ginseng really became a spirit, how is that possible? Don't talk about whether it is possible. What should we do now is the most urgent matter. Tang Zheng urged. This was the first time he faced such a difficult problem. Throw it into the alchemy furnace. Do you still need me to teach you this? But it has already become a spirit. Tian Chanzi indifferently said. So what if it has become a spirit? A spirit can also be used in alchemy, and the effects are even better. Didn't I tell you? Even those 600-700-year-old ginseng that took human form were caught and refined into alchemy pills. This one of yours only has a little bit of spirituality. Tang Zheng swallowed a mouthful of saliva. It had taken human form and was still being pulled into alchemy. It sounded like a living person was being thrown into an alchemy furnace. Just thinking about it made him feel cold all over. It's almost time to add the catalyst. Are you still going to refine it or not? Tian Chanzi urged. Tang Zheng was distraught. He was unable to decide what to do. He did not have the mental fortitude of Tian Chanzi. Listening to the pitiful begging voice that lingered in his ears, he really could not do it. There is no other way. There is no other way. Don't tell me you don't want the spirit-gathering pill. Of course I want it. I mean the middle way we can both refine the spirit-gathering pill and protect this ginseng. Really troublesome. Tian Chanzi impatiently muttered. He thought for a moment, then said, It's not that there is no other way. You can cut off its roots and put them into the alchemy furnace. This can also refine a portion of the spirit-gathering pill, but the effects will be reduced a bit. If I cut off those roots, it won't die, right? Die my ass, how could it die so easily? Life contains the essence of the world. Unless you throw its entire body into the alchemy furnace, it won't die. Hurry up, don't dawdle, otherwise the crucial moment will pass. All right, then I'll listen to you this time. Oh ginseng, don't cry, I won't kill you, I'll just cut off a bit of your roots. Tang Zheng softly comforted. The crying actually came to an abrupt stop. Tang Zheng thought it was really amazing. He calmed his mind and carefully cut off the roots. The cut was actually dark red like blood, just like human flesh. Tang Zheng was shocked. Tian Chanzi calmly said, Since it has already become a spirit, then it's just like a human, what's there to be surprised about? Hurry up. Tang Zhang calmed his mind, quickly cut off the roots, and threw them into the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. The flames immediately wrapped around the roots, turning them into a liquid golden color. This golden color immediately drilled into the sphere, causing it to shrink once again. The flames suddenly increased, as if they were about to soar into the air, illuminating the inside of the alchemy furnace, causing it to emit a blue light. Wang! The 9 revolving alchemy furnace let out a cry, causing the birds and beasts on the outside to move as if they were alive, causing Tang Zhang to be dumbstruck. Whoosh! The 9 revolving alchemy furnace moved, rapidly rotating. Before long, only a blue shadow could be seen. All right, let's wait for the 9 revolving alchemy furnace to refine by itself. Then we'll see the results in 2 hours. Tian Chanzi said. There shouldn't be any problems. This was the first time Tang Zhang had used a treasure, so he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Relax, the 9 revolving alchemy furnace is many times better than the broken furnace you used last time. Since it was successful last time, then there shouldn't be any problems this time. Tian Chanzi said confidently. Tang Zhang then turned his attention to the ginseng, discovering that the red color at the end where he cut off the roots had disappeared, becoming the same color as the rest of the ginseng. Why did it change? It has already become a spirit, so the wounds will naturally heal. What's so surprising about this? Tang Zhang said that so it was like this, but he didn't know what to do with this spirit ginseng. This time, he had cut off most of its roots, but could it be that he would cut off other parts the next time he refined pills? Tang Zhang couldn't bear to do it. What should I do now? Tang Zhang could only ask Tian Chanzi for advice. You really don't want to refine it? Tang Zhang seriously pondered for a moment, then shook his head. I don't want to, but it would be best if I could refine pills while also preserving its life. You really are overflowing with love. Then let me think of a way to get the best of both worlds. Chapter 115. Tian Chanzi really thought of a way to get the best of both worlds, which was to let the ginseng grow and maintain its life. When it was time to refine the spirit-gathering pill, he could cut off its roots. This way, he could maintain a long-term supply. Tang Zhang's eyes lit up as he said, Why didn't you say this method earlier? If I refined it in one go, where would I find 300-year-old ginseng in the future? So this method is the best. Tian Chanzi was stunned for a moment. He couldn't help but admit that Tang Zhang was right. He had actually overlooked this problem. Hang, you little brat, you just stumbled upon it. Right now, we should first figure out what is going on with this ginseng. I still don't believe that 300-years-old ginseng can become a spirit. Something must have happened. Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zhang curled his lips. Seeing is believing, this isn't fake, right? Tian Chanzi ignored Tang Zhang and fiercely asked, Little ginseng, hurry up and tell me why you became a spirit. If you don't tell me, I will throw you into the 9 revolving pill furnace. Woo woo woo. The ginseng was frightened by the sound of crying. Tang Zhang laughed loudly. Tian Chanzi, you are an expert. Look, you scared the ginseng into crying. Tian Chanzi resentfully said, This little ginseng's courage is too small, but if you don't be a bit fierce, how could it tell the truth? TSK, when asking questions, you have to be polite and gentle, understand? Let me give it a try. Tang Zhang deliberately attacked Tian Chanzi. Now, he was not afraid of Tian Chanzi. Instead, he would sometimes tease him. The atmosphere was quite good. Ginseng, don't cry. I am not a bad person. Didn't you hear me? I won't refine you anymore. I will raise you and let you live well. Tang Zhang gently said, as if he was a strange uncle trying to trick a little girl. The crying suddenly stopped and a timid voice choked with sobs asked, Really? Of course it's true. Tang Zhang patted his chest and guaranteed. But Grandpa said that many humans are very cruel. If they catch us, they will eat us. Grandpa was caught by humans. Ginseng was still in disbelief. There are also good and bad people. Those are all bad people. I'm a good person. I won't eat you, Tang Zhang said shamelessly. He had clearly wanted to refine it just now. Good man. The ginseng muttered these 2 words softly, as if trying to understand the meaning. She said, Grandpa seemed to have said that there are good people. Just like us ginseng, There are bad ginseng who steal other ginseng's spiritual energy. Grandpa said that they are bad ginseng. Bad ginseng. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. There was such a saying. Little brat, don't laugh. This little ginseng isn't wrong. Ginseng is a race, and there are good and bad ones. Some of them absorb the spiritual power of other ginseng to speed up their own cultivation, but this can only be done by a ginseng that can transform into a human form. Tian Chanzi said, not finding it strange. Tang Zheng couldn't help but sigh. It seems that ginseng's world is also very complicated. Not only are there external problems, there are also internal problems. Little ginseng, you still haven't answered me. You are only 300 years old. How did you become a spirit? Tian Chanzi asked, unwilling to give up. The ginseng timidly said, this is all because of Grandpa. Before he was caught by humans, he passed on his life spiritual energy to me. That's why I gained spiritual intelligence. Tian Chanzi suddenly realized. So that's the reason. I said that under normal circumstances, a 300-year-old ginseng can't become a spirit. But even so, it can be seen that your grandpa's cultivation is very high. Otherwise, even if a normal ginseng passed on its spiritual energy to another ginseng, it still wouldn't be able to gain spiritual intelligence. The ginseng could hear that Tian Chanzi was praising its grandpa. It proudly said, my grandpa is the most powerful. Grandpa told me to hide, but I was still caught. All right, now that you have met me, you will be fine. Under my protection, you will be able to grow strong. Tang Zheng had never raised a ginseng before. Moreover, it was a 300-year-old ginseng. Just thinking about it made him a little excited. The ginseng hesitated for a moment and said, thank you, Master. In the future, with Master protecting Linger, Linger won't be afraid. Master? Why are you calling me Master? Tang Zheng was shocked. Master doesn't eat Linger and is even willing to protect Linger. Linger is of course willing to recognize you as Master. Tang Zheng was baffled. He hurriedly asked Tian Chanzi, what's going on? After these spiritual beings become spirits, they do not have the ability to protect themselves. If they do not find a master who can protect them, then they will end up dying. This little ginseng is quite smart. It seems like its grandpa has also increased its intelligence by quite a bit. Since it has recognized you as its master, then just accept it. This is not a big deal, so why make a fuss about it? Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng took a long time to recover. He had actually become the master. He stared blankly at the ginseng and asked, you are called Linger? Yes, this is the name that Grandpa gave me. Grandpa said that I have grown up and needed a name, so he gave me this name. Linger really likes it. Linger's voice was clear and crisp. It was indeed very likable. All right, since you have recognized me as your master, then I will protect you in the future. But let me say this first. In the future, I will still need to refine spirit gathering pills. I will also need your roots. You won't mind, right? Tang Zheng asked a little embarrassedly. The ginseng had already recognized him as its master, but he still had to use a knife to cut it. It was a little cruel. Unexpectedly, Linger said indifferently, it's just a few roots. Master can use them as he pleases. Moreover, since Linger has recognized Master, then no matter how Master treats Linger, Linger will not have any complaints. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. It was good that she did not have any complaints. Tian Chanzi looked at him with disdain and said, look at your useless appearance. It's just a little ginseng. Is there a need to be like this? Even when I subdued my flame dragon beast, I was not like you. Flame dragon beast? Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide with interest. This was the first time he had heard of this kind of beast. It's a type of demonic beast. Who knows how many times stronger than a little ginseng like you? It can swallow you in one bite. Then where did your flame dragon beast go? Tian Chanzi said sadly, it died. It died trying to save me. Seeing that he had touched on his sore spot, although Tang Zheng was very curious about how strong a demonic beast the flame dragon beast was, he quickly changed the topic. How do you raise this ginseng? It's simple. Find a large flower pot and plant it in it. Keep it in a cool environment. At night, it will automatically absorb the spiritual energy from the moonlight. This way it can grow. It's that simple? Tang Zheng was shocked. Wasn't ginseng a very precious treasure? How could it be so easy to raise? It was even simpler than flowers and plants. That's an ordinary ginseng. This little ginseng has spiritual intelligence, so it's not an ordinary ginseng. The most important thing for it is to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Everything else is not important. Then I'll quickly find a flower pot and plant it. Tang Zheng said. Don't be in such a hurry. I haven't finished speaking. Do you want to raise ginseng in this shabby house? So what if it's a shabby house? This is my home. Tang Zheng said snappily. I don't mean to make fun of you. It's just that the environment here is not suitable for ginseng. You see, your house doesn't even have a big window. Where can the moonlight shine? So you have to change your house. Change my house. Tang Zheng had lived here for 18 years and never felt that there was any problem. So even if he had a few 100,000 yuan, he had never thought of changing his house. However, Tian Chanzi reminded him that now that he had a few 100,000 yuan, he did not need his grandfather to pick up junk every day. His grandfather was old and worked too hard. Now he should be enjoying life. This is an urgent matter. Moreover, your house has a treasure like the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. Aren't you afraid of being robbed? Tian Chanzi reminded. Robbed? Tang Zheng looked around. It really could be considered a house with 4 bare walls. He could not help but laugh. Do you think there will be a stupid thief who will visit my house? Tian Chanzi was speechless. Indeed, there was no stupid thief who would visit this place. It's better to be safe than sorry. Haven't you heard of the phrase, prepare for a rainy day? Moreover, if you lose these 2 treasures, you won't even have a place to cry. Aya, I forgot one thing. The little ginseng reminded me. It seems that I haven't done this for so many years that I almost forgot. Since you have these 2 treasures, you should go through the master recognition ceremony. Didn't the Linger already recognize me as its master? Tang Zheng said, puzzled. That is only a verbal acknowledgement. There is still a ceremony. You have to cut your finger and drip a drop of blood on the little ginseng. That is the true master recognition ceremony. Later on, there will be a connection between the 2 of you. Even if it is stolen, you can use this connection to find it. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. There was such a good thing. If there was no Tian Chanzi, then even if he had these treasures, he would be at a loss. After you drip a drop of blood on it, it will not betray you. It will be your servant for life. In addition, when you drip a drop of blood, recite this incantation and it will naturally succeed. There is an incantation. Of course. Otherwise, do you think that if a mortal accidentally drips a drop of blood on these treasures, they will recognize him as their master? How can there be such a good thing? Tang Zheng carefully thought about it. It was true. These treasures had been passed around for so many years. If one was not careful, then wouldn't it be possible for them to be stained with blood? Tang Zheng used a fruit knife to cut his finger. Dark red blood flowed out. At the same time, he recited an incantation. The qi in his body poured into the drop of blood. The drop of blood fell on top of the ginseng. It was as if the blood had come alive. It quickly spread on the surface of the ginseng and seeped into the insides. It completely disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. Tang Zheng's eyes widened as he looked at this scene in amazement. Master, thank you. Linger's voice sounded in his mind. In the future, when you communicate with it, you don't need to speak. Just like with me, you can think directly in your mind. It will naturally respond. Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng nodded. This was a lot more convenient. I still need to drip a drop of blood on the 9 revolving pill furnace to recognize it as its master. Of course. Tang Zheng turned his gaze to the 9 revolving pill furnace. The furnace's rotation had already slowed down. The refining of the spirit pills was about to be completed. He became excited. How many spirit pills would he be able to refine this time? You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.